guys. Oh my god, dude. I literally... It's so bad when I drink PBR.
Yeah.
I feel like I get, like, even.
Yeah.
Like, I look like the Marshmallow Man.
So, Brendan.
He's live, boys.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Put him down.
Okay.
Were you the first one to like it?
Helps get
Oh, now there's 2 legs. I wonder if it's my niece's.
I don't think it's trying.
Same.
Oops, that's Instagram. I took a lot of sort of feelings like more knowledge on this.
I wasn't sure when I went to give you the hug. I was nervous. I'm not.
I'm just not. That's
Because I'm dead inside.
Yeah, poor choice. Whoops, I almost just clicked the unsubscribe button.
Hey!
There's 5 people watching. Whoops.
Good morning.
Morning. Ah, look at me. What up, buddy?
It's hard to type.
Where is it? I don't see it.
Oh,
Oh, maybe I should go to subscriptions.
I've synced myself
There it
now.
I don't like it. Oh, I can't because I'm not logged
Yeah,
in.
just literally X out of this. Bingo.
I don't think I'm logged in. Oh, I am. Cool. Look, I took the time out of the day to like it. You guys better.
That's right. I did too. I even helped him.
Help me help you.
Alright. Hopefully, everything's good volume-wise. Should be. Did my job. Worked on it beforehand. Make sure my phone's on Silencio, Bruno. Silencio, Bruno.
What's that
See,
mean?
It's
if you
from
had
that
kids,
Luca movie.
you
right?
would know. Yes,
I
you're
haven't
on it. It's pretty good.
It was not
Luca?
bad.
What is it?
It's, I don't know, it's just a movie about this kind of kid.
Merman
Yeah,
kind of
he's
kids.
like a sea creature.
But when they come out of the water, they turn into regular humans.
Yeah.
And 2 dudes become friends, and it's a good, happy ending story. You know,
Sounds
typical
like the kind
Disney
of movie
movie.
I gotta pregame and watch.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, who we got? Gordy, Andrew, Tom, and
Hey.
Jack, and David. Hey, everybody. How y'all doing? Thank you for watching. Thank you all for coming back, too, after the break we had last week.
And the week before.
And the week... Wait, did I miss 2 weeks in a row?
2 weeks in a row.
Oh, wow. It's been 3 weeks since the last show. My bad. Sorry.
Whoops.
I done did goofed on the Lake on... Oh, my God. Lake Ontario.
Good. I haven't even tried this one yet.
Oh. You want to sip?
Yes.
Do it.
Alright, this is black cherry pomegranate.
Like, it's very good. Oh my god, dude. One of the comments I had on the last stream we did with Chris, because you and Chris, I think actually all 3 of us were drinking seltzers.
That is delicious.
One of the comments was, seltzers? How do you pee? How do you sit down to pee when you're out fishing?
Easy.
Yeah,
In the live well.
it is pretty.
You stupid.
Yep.
I had a good chuckle at that when I saw it.
That is pretty good.
Sensible chuckle.
I did find out Sean has a shy bladder this past weekend.
I do.
I was sitting in the seat when I pee off the front deck. I was like, do you want me to hold your hips? You okay? What's the matter?
You wouldn't go for a week after that.
He's like, will you please shut up? Because I literally can't. And I was like, oh, all right.
I don't have a shy bladder. I used to be
Same.
in front of 85 dudes, so.
Oh, I told him the story about the time you had to poop in a bucket and the Amtrak went by and you're just like,
Oh,
Yeah.
That was, you did tell me that.
Dude, the porta potty was full. I mean,
Oh.
full to the brim.
oh, John experienced that at Champlain on Sunday.
Horrible.
I gagged. And then we didn't stop for like an hour and a half. It was bad. I opened it and I looked and I said, nope, someone pooped in the urinal part. There was
How do you do that? It's so talent.
did I not say that? I
You
said
did.
that is talent that someone was able to do that.
I gotta try it.
My stuff is not fitting anywhere near that thing.
Gotta try it.
So, sorry, we're live.
Yeah. Yes,
There you go.
it was very hot today.
Literal toilet humor for you to start the stream.
Just in case.
It was hot. It's hot in here now. We're gonna be sweating bullets because it's not pleasant down in my basement. I have no way of setting up an AC down here, but I have a couple of fans going, so I might have to crack the door a couple times. Fan might get loud. Just keep me posted on audio. Also, let me know how it all sounds now. It should be good. I didn't change anything from the last stream with Chris Martin from Aluminum Fishing Series, so we should be good. Although I think I have to change one more setting on the microphone. But let me know, please, if I need to. Otherwise, we'll get started in a second here. I'm actually going to look, because I'm pretty sure I need to just click that mic over one setting.
I completely forgot.
Well,
I forgot.
I think it definitely sounded good when we were. Yeah. Gordy says it sounds perfect.
What is an 87 Tundra get? I can tell you, it's okay. I don't know. I don't think you're really looking for gas mileage on 87 Tundra.
Dennis.
Dennis. You're just kind of hoping that that the frame's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, I saw like an early 80s Tacoma. Oh, I was with you, Sean.
Yeah.
That
That was that red one.
That was
Sunday.
so, dude, it was like the cleanest
I like
early
that.
Hopefully that
80s
wasn't loud. Sorry.
That was probably
Tacoma I've ever seen. It was gorgeous. I'm a sucker for Tacomas.
a sucker for the taco.
All types.
All right, I just changed one setting on the mic, so we should be good. I forgot there's like two different settings. If that sounds worse, let me know, because I always thought the way I have it now is the way it's supposed to be. But the other way may have been better, so just let me know. Otherwise, we get started. It's easy enough to reach over and click, click. We'll get going. Thank you all for coming back. Greatly appreciate it. We are joined this week again by John, the owner of Wicked Custom Rods, based right here out of New Hampshire. We're going to talk a lot tonight about basically that kind of summer grind, right?
Oh, Jeep. Okay, bye.
Throw a Psycho.
Listen, I have no shame.
Nope, none. We're going to talk about a lot of it from every perspective. We've done a lot of fishing, especially me, the last like 3 weeks in a bunch of different areas. I have fished a couple of different local ponds around here. I've fished the Lakes region of New Hampshire. I fished the St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario and Lake Champlain. I have run the gambit for everything the Northeast has to offer in the last 3 weeks. So,
Besides Candyland.
sorry. Besides Candyland, that's the
That's
only one.
it.
Yeah, but that place is a nightmare in the summer. So, there's been a lot going on. So we have a lot to talk about, and hopefully provide some good insight for you guys that you can use this weekend, because it's still going to be hotter than hell. Especially tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is great, because I have the day off and I'll be at the lake.
I got choice words, but it's too early.
Grant, anyone doing the Troy Martin Memorial Tournament Sunday? We are not. Where is that? I'm curious. And hey, Jason,
Probably.
glad you can join us.
Oh, never.
What?
I thought it was in Troy. But, oh, maybe that's a name.
That is the name. Troy Martin, in fact, is the whole name.
Yes, it is.
It's the first name.
Memorial Tournament.
There's also, if anyone wants to have some fun with their kids, up on
Yes.
up on Sunapee, they are doing a rock bass kill. What the hell is it called?
It's just a kill tournament, catch
Yeah.
and kill tournament.
So last year they killed 4,000, either 4,000 unique fish or 4,000 pounds. I forget what it was, but I know it was 4,000.
It was 4,000 unique fish.
Was
what
it?
What I heard.
So that's probably
So
more
for
than
anyone
4,000
that
fish.
might be like, oh, what are they doing with them? They grind them up and use them as fertilizer, and they also feed local aviary.
Yeah, like
aviary,
the
birds.
Yeah, New Hampshire has a couple of both state-owned and like privately funded, like basically bird rescue operations, if you will. Like there's a couple of people. If anybody's ever watched Northwoods Law, there's a couple of women they usually have come in when a hawk is hit, and they do the whole rehabilitation. You know, make sure that they can get back out in the wild and stuff like that. So I know it goes to things like that. Otherwise, it goes for fertilizer. It's for a good cause. Rock bass is an invasive species in New Hampshire. So if anybody's looking for something fun to do with their kids on Saturday, it is supposed to be pretty hot in the morning, but it's supposed to kind of like level out throughout the day. So it won't be actually that bad to be out there with the kids and do something fun. It's total weight wins. So, I mean, literally just bring a couple of 5-gallon buckets, catch as many as you can, and bucket every single one of them. Anything you can't fit,
smash their heads in and send them down to Davy Jones.
That's it.
I John Cena one pretty good the
Yeah. We were doing that for like the next 3 hours.
He's like, next one, do in the water.
Dude, he hit the deck so hard it bounced like 3 feet up.
Oh my god.
I hate those things.
Ah, they're pesky. And it was in a pond that you do not want to see them in.
No, not at all.
You know which one we're talking about.
I don't like that. If
No.
it's the one I'm thinking of, I really don't like
Oh,
that.
you know which one we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm trying to sidetrack.
Yeah.
So
dude.
on a side
Dad
note, then,
signs.
guys, leave your shiners on the ice when you're ice fishing. Do not leave them in the hole.
Right.
You kill
Dead.
them on the ice because you can't decipher what a rock bass is. And these guys that are local, they don't know what they're trapping either. Sometimes I'll use that broadly, but a majority of them, or people that are catching their own bait, leave them on the ice. We're trying to stop the invasion,
Right.
you know. And unless we start putting pike everywhere, we're not going to get rid of them.
It's gonna happen. We're gonna make it happen. Somebody's gonna make it happen.
Seriously.
Legally or illegally. Whatever. We'll fix it. New Hampshire doesn't have the funds. Okay, not us personally.
Right.
Someone's gonna.
We should just go out and just do it anyway. It's
I don't
fun.
Shifting pike around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Shifting pike?
No,
I think
we're not
we're talking
doing
about
that.
taking care of rock
taking care of rock bass.
Yeah.
Same. It's taking care of rock
One
bass
works.
indirectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong.
Right.
Walleye.
Yeah.
And walleye, ooh, walleye would be good.
Skip pike straight to muskie, Jason says.
Yep,
Yeah.
I would be 100% down with that.
Right.
We were just talking about muskie.
I would
The
eat
other day
the
when we were
walleye I
fishing.
catch though. Walleye is so freaking good.
But before we get started to continue on that, before we get started with the stream, what pro was it? Matt Lee? One of the MLF guys, like the catch him, weigh him, release him, that format MLF. Just up on Champlain this past weekend. And he had a good, I think it was Matt Lee. Guy crushed it first day. Caught like 40 bass. Huge lead. Didn't catch much of anything Sunday, which by the way was literally the spot we fished with DJ.
Yeah.
Where he hammered him. I'm pretty sure it was him, but on his slow day, he ended up catching like an 8.5 pound walleye or something like that up there.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it was big.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was big. I mean,
Damn.
for like up there, it was good. Damn. What do we got here?
Nice. That's my niece right there.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Hello. Glad you could join us. Sorry, Lisa, I missed you. Hi, Lisa. Jason, that's awesome. You get to fish Saturday through Tuesday. Where are you going? Hopefully around here.
She's really happy.
She's very
Yeah. Right.
How old is your niece?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, we just outed him in front of his family.
Oh.
So sorry.
Lila, are you 12? Write in the chat if you're 12. I think that's what you are. I think her sister's
Purple.
9.
Is that her sister?
No.
We'll find.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
It's 12 minutes in. Time to get started.
Okay.
So, I've been around a little bit recently the last few weeks, as I already mentioned, but for anybody else that just showed up, we want to talk about that summer grind. Anybody that's anywhere in the area of the Northeast knows it's hotter than hell out and it has been the last couple days, and it's going to continue. So, that...
I
that
know. I'm already sweating.
dude, it's bad in here. We've had pretty mild weather, right? For like the last whole summer. We never really got that heat wave that we typically do, especially like June and July. Like we're usually good for a half dozen heat waves by this point, where it's driving like even the Lakes region up towards 80 degrees surface temp. And we were just in the Lakes region a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And on
Sunday.
a big lake up there, water was still only 71 degrees.
Mm.
That is pretty crazy given how late in the year we are. I mean, that was August. It was the first week of August. First weekend in
It was
August.
August 1st.
August 1st.
Well, what was Champlain? 70? I think? Or was 69 when we got
Champlain
on the water?
was, right about 70 degrees.
Yeah.
And then even crazier, when I was on Lake Ontario, July 28th, it was only 68 degrees. Granted, it's Lake Ontario. It's a big lake, but it's still kind of lagging behind. Like, everything's lagging behind. And the question I was having as we were going into this was like, okay, time of the year wise, we should be finding like fish in their true summer pattern, right? If you're talking largemouth, kind of moving more offshore, whether it be rock piles or grass, I find it's a little bit better for largemouth, smallmouth. If they're not able to get in the right structure at the depth that they're at, depending on what the thermocline is doing, then they're out roaming suspended. Even though the time of the year is right for that, the water temperature hasn't really been there. So the question is like, what are we actually going to be finding? Get out and do all these spots, literally everything. anywhere from like, we'll say really early summer pattern to like deep mid or late summer, like water's hotter than hell patterns. We have found them covering the entire gambit.
Yeah.
It has been difficult because water temp wise, they shouldn't be deep, but time of the year wise, they should. So what really dictates those movements? Is it the water temp or is it the time of year? Seems to be a little bit of both.
I think this is probably the first year in a while that we've seen or been able to look at this in that perspective. And I think that's important. It leads to exactly what you're saying. Because I know, you know, you and I talk about it all the time, going with your gut when you're looking at some of these spots, instead of going on and, you know, looking at your graph or, you know, looking at the temp and seeing that it's only 68 degrees and saying, all right, they should still be up shallow, or, you know, they're doing this or that. We saw them everywhere, and that's I think it's crazy, you know, especially even in the little kettle ponds, they're still covering everything.
Right. And that's the thing that Andrew and I found when we were the last couple of trips, between what we just did Monday afternoon and then the weekend before when we were up in the lakes region going for smallmouth.
Yeah.
We couldn't nail down a pattern right away because
we caught fish, but it wasn't. We didn't find a certain pattern that worked consistently all day. We just found them where we thought we would find them, and they were there because they were everywhere.
Right. Yeah, but like typically this time of the year, if we're going for smallmouth, we're looking deep, like really deep offshore rock piles, humps, and then trying to see if they're suspended anywhere near it. And we started doing that, but we weren't really seeing them. And then we started bouncing around like, okay, well, given the temperature, they could be in any one of these 10 spots. We started bouncing around, and they were close to them, but they weren't really on them. They're kind of like hovering around on the outside edges. Like,
yeah, it wasn't like, let's name a specific spot, but there was a rock pile, and we were catching them. I think we caught one or two on the rock pile.
Yep.
And then caught a couple more off the deep end of the rock pile. So they're kind of like starting to work their way a little deeper, but still holding up on the structure. So
it's weird. It's like they're in this permanent transition. And I know we're talking very broadly and we're kind of bouncing around a little bit, but that's the goal that I want to do, to at least start. It's kind of like set the stage for all these different situations that the three of us have found ourselves in the last 3 weeks, in literally the entire gambit of fisheries that the entire Northeast has to offer, anywhere from a 30-acre puddle to Lake Ontario. You know, we've run the whole gambit here in the last 3 weeks. And the only kind of consistent thing is the lack of consistency in the where the fish are. Typically this time of the year, you think like they should all be in their deep summer points, but time of the year is right, water temp's wrong. Depth is still kind of consistent, but the location of the depth is what's kind of tricky to figure out. Like, all right, smallmouth, lakes region, 35 feet usually is a pretty good starting point. They're not always down at the bottom. Sometimes they're just kind of hanging in that depth, maybe suspended 15 to 20 feet down. But if you found like a really good point, typically they're not on that. They're more like mid-lake. And that's like just general rule of thumb. It's not absolute concrete. That's just, again, general rule of thumb. Whereas like right now, those points are still viable. You just have to move out a little bit further off of that depth range, and they're kind of hovering around in there. It's weird. You got to find, I think the most consistent spots we've found have been those kind of depth ranges that they'd like to be in this time of the year, right, but still close to the shallow spot, those transitional areas.
It's almost like they're roaming. Like they're in their pattern, but they're roaming way more. Like, typically, I feel that when we start looking at some of those deeper points, especially smallmouth, you know, they're stacked up. Look at how it was the other day when we were on Champlain. We had 5 different lines in the water throwing everything, you know, within a 200-yard stretch, and there was maybe a 20-yard stretch that was just absolute lights out, and that was Sean Miller, and he ended up pulling out, I think, a 412. Small,
yeah,
it was the biggest,
something.
Yeah, biggest for the day. And you know, he whacked, I don't know,
20 fish while we were right
at
beside
least
him.
20. And I was throwing the same thing. You know, I'm a huge bottom contact guy, especially in new water. I like being able to feel what I'm fishing. And again, we were both throwing same color. I was throwing a little bit different. I was throwing a skirted Ned. He was throwing a regular Ned, but he was just cracking them. But he went out. He followed us across. He followed us across the whole area. Met up with us in DJ. scooted back around and started lighting them up again. And here, Sean and I, you know, we're trying to do a little different because it's the mentality. You know, sometimes too much information is going to hurt you, especially when you're guys like us. And you know, just because we say they should be doing this, it doesn't mean they're going to. Especially the last 3 weeks, where we're getting the solid information of that. You know, by the fish. It's been a grind.
It has been
Absolutely.
grind.
Like a
This whole-
summer
This whole
grind.
year has been a grind. I mean, we've caught nice fish, and some pretty big, but still, it's been a grind. You either get that one or you get a couple dinks.
Right.
We've had a few days where we have gone and got. I mean, early spring, we went out and we had that wake bait day.
Yep.
And we killed it. We got, I don't even know how many. Got a couple 3-pounders, a couple 4-pounders. Other than that, it's like, we'll get a 4 here, maybe.
Yeah.
A 3 there, maybe.
The lack of consistency, like how many I think I said the last 5 trips out. I know I said it too when we were out at Champlain. Like, it'd be nice to roll up to a lake using all of the previous knowledge and experience that we have, knowing, okay, based on everything I know and the existing conditions, pretty good chance it's going to be at about this window that it's going to work, right? Like for
Yeah.
presentation,
Usually-
colors, like the whole 9 yards. And it's just not fucking panning out.
When we go out, we have a game plan, and we try to stick to that game plan. If it differs, then we usually completely flip and go to something completely different. And we end up usually finding a couple good fish, at least 3, 3.5, maybe a 4-pounder.
Yep.
Sometimes we get onto a good, like a 5-pounder or 6. Very rarely. Sometimes. But we usually do.
Rarely. Sometimes.
Backboat. Oh, right boat.
that's the problem.
But we do. We usually do. I can say this with confidence. We usually do pretty well.
Yep.
We can usually figure them out.
Yeah, usually grinding, you know, I will say that the commitment of us to grind and at least get something is,
Right.
you know, but even Champlain is a great example. I threw everything I could because I was just like, I'm just going to try, you know. And then I found myself with a wacky rig Senka.
It works.
Well, it's
Except for that day.
Yeah, worked for
Oh, really?
DJ and Alex. They
Yeah, but
absolutely crushed it on them.
I think we were just in the wrong depth. But we were, you know, like you said, there's 3 boats. We were trying to kind of bounce around with a lot of stuff.
I mean, fish get pretty specific on where they want to be, especially smallmouth. When it gets hot, they're very specific on where they want to hold up and what they want to eat. And it can even be as simple as the color. It could be a shade off and they won't eat it.
Yep.
So you really got to find the specific bait they want. If they start biting one bait, say a Ned rig, they're not biting drop shot, but they're biting a Ned rig. So they're feeding down, straight down. And they're not biting green pumpkin, move to something, I don't know, black. Say they're biting
Yeah, a little
green
darker.
pumpkin once in a while. From you go to the baby bass color to green pumpkin, they start biting that. So you move a little darker, just say black, they start biting that. You figured it out. Even sometimes it could just be from green pumpkin to a smoke color.
Right. And sometimes just a little bit of difference in color in the flake too.
Right.
Like when we were up at the Lakes region for the smallmouth, and you started doing really well with that tube earlier in the day, and you were just a green pumpkin with a black flake, and then it seemed to be kind of moderate later, but then I started catching them on a green pumpkin tube with black and orange flake,
Right.
and just that little bit of a change just provided some slightly different results.
Yeah. Teeny tiny change. Literally like the most minute change that could be. Just a different color flake in it.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
we saw that with the
ridiculous.
drop shot bait this past weekend.
But
Yeah.
that's how picky smallmouth will be. And then when it gets hotter, they're even more picky.
Oh, in the worst way.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to back up. There's a bunch of people that jumped in that I didn't get to say hi to. Nick Costa, you are absolutely correct. It was Jordan Lee. Sorry, I had the wrong Lee brother. Steven, glad you could join us. David, Lakes Region. Jason, Lakes Region. I would say definitely go. David, that's a hell of a day. Got a dozen largemouth in a Lakes Region kettle pond, 2 to 5 feet, heavy weeds, and a frog, including a 21-inch 5-pounder. Damn.
It's a big five.
Yeah, it is. Dave Richardson, hey buddy. Sam, Kotu, Tiago, hey friend, see you Sunday. Richard
Oh,
Sousa,
yeah, that's this Sunday.
that is this Sunday.
See you Sunday, Tiago.
Big bait things.
Won't see you.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, I mean, specific to expand on what you guys said for color, and again, speaking a little bit more broad general terms, before we kind of dive into more specifics to help you guys out. And I want questions too when we dive into the specifics, but
sure.
I like that we're kind of just setting the stage for just a whole bunch of different scenarios. Color is everything. I think I've said that 20 times in every single stream for the last 6 months. How many baits did I go through on the front deck of my boat, dropping down on
God.
video game fishing before I finally locked in on what it was?
It must have been 16, at least. At least 16
believe
different baits.
Can you grab the Ned box up there for a second, please? I have many boxes of drop shot baits, but they're not necessarily drop shot baits. I like to use them. This is one of 4 that I own that are just drop shot baits, because that's how much I like doing it. Jigs and drop shot are my 2 go-tos because
I don't think
They're my
you can really
comps.
tell how many baits are.
Yeah,
actually
that's what
in
I
there
was gonna
with
say.
the
so
closed.
this is funny because this is literally just Magic Flicks and Ned rigs. So this was it's half and half, right? It's not just drop shot baits, but it's literally just Magic Flicks and Ned rigs.
This is probably 20 bags right here.
And that's, again, one of 4 total that I have. I've got 3 like that, and then I've got a 4th one that's actually much bigger. That's all teeny tiny swim baits.
Yeah.
Almost, and the thing is, there's probably only like between 8 and 10 different models of baits that I have in there, right? But for every one of those, I've got at least 3 colors. For my like actual go-tos, like Magic Flick, I've got every color Magic Flick that he makes. For no, not right now, I ran out of some, but at one point I did. Some other baits I don't want to talk about because they're my other favorite go-tos. I've got like 5 or 6 different colors. Like I've got a bunch of swim baits. How many different color swim baits do I have? In 2-inch, 2.5 inch, 2.8 inch, 3.3 inch, 3.5 inch, 3.8 inch, 4.3 inch. Like, dude, I live for drop shot. I have the whole gambit of sizes and the whole range of colors because you need it. Do you need to go as crazy as I do? No. You could literally get away with just the Magic Flick, and in 90% of the cases, you will not get skunked. That's how good and versatile that bait is.
It's really good.
And he's got the whole run of colors that you could use not only for smallmouth, but for largemouth too.
Yep.
But like specifically to that point with Champlain with John, I get, what did you say, like 5 or 6 baits I went through?
I would say 17 total through. I mean, before you caught one, it was probably 8 baits at least.
I had a graveyard
Because
up front.
On top of that, I was picking other colors, or also a couple of different companies, between what I had in the boat and other things that he had, just because it was like Andrew was saying, you know, we're trying to figure out that pattern, and we could get it. We'd get them to follow the bait. We'd get them to nose down on it, and they just wouldn't commit.
Right.
And then finally, I literally had, it was just like a very translucent color, but mine had a solid green body on the bottom, so it's like a dual pour. And he changed over to just like that translucent color, and he dropped down, and he smoked one within, I think it was the second drop.
Within a second of it hitting the bottom.
Yeah.
And it gets a little bit easier when you know how to use your graphs. And this is kind of like the final broad overview of just one aspect of everything we want to cover tonight. And then let's get into the specifics. But when you think about video game fishing, what guys call it, right? When you're using your graph and you're actually marking fish, you're trying to drop straight down, right underneath your troll motor to get them. A lot of guys think that's the easiest thing in the world. It's not. There's so many variables, and they call baseball a game of inches. Video game fishing is a game of inches. You have to lock in, and not all the time, but you like there's a good chunk of the year you gotta lock in the exact color. You gotta lock in the tag length. You gotta lock in what your weight is gonna be for how fast the damn thing drops down there. Do you need to move it? Do you need to dead stick it? Like every single variable you can think of, especially now when you're talking dog days of summer, that all comes into play. It's not just like, oh, well, if I change my color, it's easy as that. No. You might need to go down to a 1/4 ounce weight versus a 3/8 because it's bombing by too fast in 3/8. You might need to shorten your tag down to nothing because they're belly scraping as they're going by. Or you need to have your tag like this because they're fishing, you know, swimming 5-6 feet off the bottom. And they're gonna track it, and as you're dead sticking it, if you're not using a floating plastic, it's gonna slowly come down. That's enough to get them to commit. But I mean, how many times have we video game fish? And I'll see one going by and I'll drop down on it and you can see them come up. You can see the whole boomerang on your graph. Come up, down, and then disappear. So they're interested. enough to see it.
Well, last weekend we encountered something that we really haven't encountered much. They were suspended, but they were still feeding down, which was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So, thinking about it now, didn't do it at the time because I was just lazy. Should have lengthened my tag length
And
to like 2 feet.
and
More.
Less weight.
much lighter weight.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
I was literally thinking about the same thing 2 days after we went. In that instance, we should have gone to a 1/4 ounce or even like a 3/16 ounce drop shot,
Yep.
and like 2 to 3 feet on attack.
Yep.
So and still bombed it as far as you could, and they would have been able to track it the whole way down. But that weight would have hit. You still would have had a couple of feet before it slowly started to settle, and it would have given them a chance to get into it. But it's another great specific example. Man, I could just go on and on and on, but I want to provide some more structure to this. So let's back it up a smidge, and let's talk about smallmouth in that dog days of summer, because that's something that all three of us have done recently. We can all speak to confidently at this point. Brendan, thanks for joining, buddy. Greatly appreciate you coming by. Sir Altitude said, I'll be up on Champlain this month, the 21st to the 28th. Hoping to learn from your mistakes.
Wow.
Haha.
We also had the MLF beating the bag out of. I mean, we'd pull up on spots, and again, we had 3 boats. We'd pull up on spots, and the MLF guys would come bombing around the corner, see us, and just jet.
We
So,
had one that was fishing on the
Yeah.
spot that I wanted to fish.
Yeah, there was one that was on the spot.
Dennis's spot. He was like, you should have fished here. I was like, I couldn't. There's an MLF guy on it.
Yeah, he was there a while too.
Yeah, he was.
There was the guy there, and then there was one that pulled up and fished near DJ, which DJ was laughing because he was railing him on wacky rig Sankos, and the guy was just chasing around a school of fish, but he wasn't putting anything in the boat. So
Yep.
But
There's a couple of guys a little further offshore working humps. There was a guy that did roll up, fished off the point for 5 minutes. He had a
Yeah.
camera. I don't know who he was. And bailed. Bunch of guys running through the spot that we were punching mats late in the day.
Oh.
Casey Ashley came in and fished right behind us. Like, apparently we were fishing the same spot that they were hammering all weekend. So it is what it is. Don't do that.
what was it? 101 fish count. One of them
Something
had.
stupid like no, it was 101 pounds on 40
Oh,
fish.
all right. So 40 fish. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
but
Yeah, pretty good. And then we just went
Good
there
average.
and pushed
Really
around.
it's a really good average. Stephen Williamson, do you think the drop shot catches biggins?
So we
Hmm.
just posted a video not long ago of me catching a 5.31
Yep, 5.31 largemouth
largemouth on a drop shot
Did you boat flip it?
in 3 feet
I
of water.
couldn't. In 3 feet of water. I couldn't do that.
Oh my
I
god.
wouldn't. I mean, I would try, but
I know you would have tried. That's why I was curious.
no, I wouldn't have tried with that one. That was too big. I
Drop.
didn't even know how big it was until it got on the boat and I looked. I'm like, holy shit!
Dude, yeah, when I picked it up in the net, and the net was like
So yes, it does.
big time, especially smallmouth. Man, I don't even know how many 4+ pound smallmouth I've caught in my life, but I can guarantee you the vast majority of them are on a drop shot. Although oddly enough, my 2 5-pound smallmouth I caught were not on a drop shot. One
I
was
know
a jerk
exactly.
bait, and one was a swim bait.
Yeah, I got one on a swim bait. It was the only one I've got.
Yeah. Spider jig is my other best big producing bait for smallmouth. But that's neither here and there. Let's get back to it. Right. So, dog days of summer, smallmouth. It depends on where you want to go. In most cases, when we're going out for smallmouth, we're going deep. We're going big water because the smaller bodies of water are so much harder to nail down unless you're doing like reactionary baits, right? Like smaller bodies of water with like big wake baits or glide baits or stuff like that, like money for smallmouth. Kind of hit or miss. I mean, you can get into them, but I don't know. They're happier in deeper, colder water. More than anything, just colder.
I mean, prime example, those 2 over 4.5 pound smallies I caught that one day at that pond.
Yep.
Small pond. Max depth was like, I think 30.
35 feet, but it's a small spot. So
Tiny,
like
it's like-
average max depth is like 25
It's like
feet.
40 acres. Maybe.
Wait, the one where you caught the 2 4-pounders?
Yeah.
That was actually close to 100 acres.
Really?
Yep.
That tiny place?
Yep.
Just kidding.
It
I didn't think
looks
was
way
that,
smaller.
I didn't think it
because
was that big.
those 2 back coves, that point that bisects them, like
Oh,
it's really deceiving.
Yeah, it is actually pretty deep. But main body
It's-
is really not that big.
No.
And going back, I've been going back there a lot, and I still haven't caught anything over even 2.5 pounds since I've gone there. I've seen big fish in there, seen very big fish in there, but can't get them to bite. They're just finicky in there. I think it's smaller ponds. It's a lot of the small ponds though. You got to get them on the right day. Or
Right.
they won't bite.
Yeah, because they don't have a whole lot of area for that much colder water to go to. And if they crave like really cold water,
Right.
there's really nowhere for them to go unless it's spring fed. But even still, like how cold's it really going to be?
It's not going to be much colder than the water that's. Well, it actually
Depends
can
on
be.
what's feeding into
Right.
it too. Like
Right.
the rainy days, and like we get the heavy downpours and stuff, and you hope that it, if it's not off.
But if I mean spring fed, how do you know where the spring is?
Right.
gonna be
Right.
hard
Then
to
that's exactly. So it gets tricky when you're doing that on the smaller bodies of water because they don't have like easily readily available option to go to much colder water if the conditions dictate that that's where they really want to be. So deeper water is definitely more, it's easier to an extent. Typically it's a lot bigger, so it's harder to cover a lot of water, kind of eliminate dead water and find those good spots. But it's worth the time because once you put the time in, you figure that out, you get good spots, and it's pretty consistent year after year that given time of the year and water temps, those spots or other areas of the lake that are close, similar to what your good spot has to offer, one of those is going to pan out. So that's why when we're talking smallmouth this time of the year, Lakes region, Lake Champlain now is entering into our regular rotation. Now 3 years in a row for me, St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario. Although that's where we're going to throw you a curveball when it comes to both of those places and dog days of summer. In general, though,
Real deep.
or
Or
stupidly shallow.
Stupid shallow, yeah.
The biggest fish of our day-and-a-half trip up to Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence River was one I caught, 4.85 pound smallmouth in 2 feet of water
On a beautiful rod.
on a very beautiful rod. And then Travis Manson, smallmouth crush. I just saw him post 2 days ago.
Thanks.
He just pulled out a tank smallmouth. He never tells weight, but I would say it was probably about 5 pounds. At least heavy 4s. 78 feet of water, I think he said he pulled it up out of.
78.
78 feet. But
Do that.
yeah,
I saw a
we
pic-
got 65 feet last year.
Yeah.
I think the deepest I've seen someone post that I follow was 85 out of the quad.
Holy God.
85, and it was a mud belly. The thing, he actually had a camera that he dropped down. The thing was just planted in the mud.
Jesus.
Right? 85 foot of water.
That's crazy.
It was like 5.
Before we
5 something.
go further, Stephen Williams said, I only use drop shot for catching a limit, not for winning tournaments. Interesting. I've won tournaments on drop shot. If we haven't won, we've come damn close. Drop shot, it can do everything.
Just
Like,
works.
it does.
You just got to be in the right area.
Well, you also don't have to throw a tiny bait on a drop shot. That's a common misconception, in my
True.
opinion.
Yep, and you don't have to throw super finesse stuff either.
Yeah, you throw a friggin' what are those Berkeley's, the spade tails or whatever, or the flatworms. Those
Yeah,
are,
the flatworks. Seem to be a
flatworms
little
are
bigger.
5s, right?
I know they're a guy that will technically considered power shotting, but whatever, it's still a drop shot with one of those mega flukes, like the 7-inch ones in grass on 12-pound straight fluorocarbon. Like,
Right.
it depends on what you think. Like, most people think drop shot, little fairy wand, little 3-inch bait, and light line, 6-pound test. It can be everything. Because typically, most people use it for smallmouth, for ultra finesse stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Creature bait for largemouth, and you'll win a tournament.
Yep.
Dennis comes in and talks about eating his rock bass.
I've heard those are really good. And then he went out and caught a bunch, and he said they were delicious. He texted me a picture of his dinner that night.
Yeah,
I want to make some fish tacos.
It did look pretty good.
It did. I'm actually looking forward to that for ice fishing. All right, we digress again. All right,
Sorry.
so
Fucking
It's the 3 of us.
all right, let me tackle from this approach. So dog days of summer, smallmouth. Again, backing up a little bit, we typically go for bigger, deeper lakes. Lakes region, New Hampshire. All of the big lakes. I mean, all right, specifically, Lake Winnipesaukee, Winnisquam, sometimes Mary Meeting Lake, Swam Lake, Newfound. All of the big lakes. Not Sunapee because I hate the boat launch. I've only been there twice in my life. And that's not Lakes region, that's Sunapee Lakes region. Regardless, like that's another big lake that is good for it, can be good for it. In general, though, Lakes region, now Lake Champlain, again, Lake Ontario, the St. Lawrence River. I've been there 3 times, or 3 straight years now. But Lakes region, New Hampshire is generally where we're going. Andrew, when we go up for smallmouth this time of the year, what are the, I would say, first 2 things we go looking for? Bingo. That's number 1. Always number 1. Say it a little louder for the people in the back.
Bait.
Bait. Ossipee is in a lake that I've only been to twice in my life.
I have a
But I know
key,
it's
Been there
got
once.
giants.
I have a key card for that place. Ooh. So the boat ramp at Totem Pole.
It's just a weird place. It's a giant bowl. So
It is.
it's different.
I caught my first big largemouth out of there of my life.
There, the part that goes into the channel,
It's like 12
like
years old.
a half a mile out, it's only 4.5 foot deep, and it's all sand.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. And then all of a sudden you get into like mountainous rocks.
Yeah, it's better than early in the year.
I've been begging them since Lisa.
We'll go. 3 of us. End of the year. All right, so
The 3 of us.
number 1, number 1 you said was bait, and then number 2
What else are we looking for?
Other people.
Probably, yeah.
with the side imaging. Ooh, what did you fishing over there?
Not a mind razor here. What are you looking for?
I mean,
Probably
bait
water
is
tank.
always number 1, and then from there
Probably
we
depth or
usually
water tank.
start structure-wise.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Because that's how we typically are. We're trying to get better at fishing for suspended bass, but first and foremost, if I can catch them bottom contact in and around structure, that's the first thing I'm looking for. But I'm not doing that unless there's bait. So bait first, structure second. Technically, it's kind of like a chicken and the egg thing. I'm going to look for structure, but I already know where it is, so I'm looking for bait around the structure. Same, but different. That's like 80% of dog days of summer smallmouth fishing. Bait is your best friend. Depending upon where it is and how it's relating to structure, can kind of make it a little bit easier for how you want to go about trying to chase it. A lot of guys, and I did this for years myself, will go right for the heart of the bait. Like, you're going along on the troll motor, all of a sudden, boom, 20 feet tall, bait ball smelt, rolls through. Your whole freaking screen looks like a snowball coming through, and just static, and you're like, holy crap, that's a ton of bait. And your first instinct is to drop right down. But if you don't see any boomerangs of fish coming up through, there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
The fish aren't far off. If you don't see the boomerangs coming up through the bait, then they're probably just outside of it. Start fan casting around. The fact that you're already on the bait ball means that somewhere in the relative close vicinity are the bass. Sometimes they're right in the heels of that bait ball, or they're underneath it, they're over the top of it, or they're like 50, 60 feet off the outside. They're gonna follow that stuff around. So as long as you're near the bait, you're gonna have a good time.
Definitely.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we do.
Now,
Smallest.
Yeah. And depending on the time of the year and water temp, really, like dog days of summer water temp kind of dictates where the thermocline likes to be, which dictates where the bait fish like to be, which then dictates where the bass like to be. Typically, as we get later in the year, surface temp gets upwards 75, 80 degrees. It, especially the lakes region, pulls that thermocline away from like the juicier offshore spots. Like a lot of those good rock piles and stuff you find, like 20 to 30, 35 feet, depending on what lake you're in, need to go deeper. If not necessarily that you're fishing deeper, you just need to be deeper because the bait fish are going to move out. They're going to find that thermocline and be at it, but that does not mean that the bass are there. Excuse me. That thermocline, we'll say, could be somewhere 35, 40 feet. The bait fish could be just right at it or below it. The smallmouth aren't always necessarily there. They could be out in, say, 60 feet of water is where all this is happening, but the smallmouth are only 15 feet down, 20 feet down, 25 feet down. That's where it becomes very difficult to kind of nail down that deep, that true summer dog days of fishing stuff, right? Because, like, how do you find that when they're not holding on anything? Again, bait's your best friend. As long as you can find the bait, you can know the bass are somewhere around there. You just need to change your approach as to how you're going to go about best doing that. When we were out Lakes region, and you had already said it a minute ago, we ran into an issue where we really haven't had to run into that too many times. We saw them suspended.
Yeah.
And we changed up what we were doing. Because we knew, like, they're from what we said earlier, like in that weird transitional phase, like they're close to the right depths, but they weren't in the areas of where those depths, like, where you would typically find them at that time of the year. It was weird. Like, they're still 2 months behind for location, but depth-wise, they're almost on track. It's a strange dynamic, but they weren't feeding in the same area of the water column that they normally do when they're in that area. So it's weird. You're fishing like 3 different timings of the year all in one shot. So how the hell do you go about tackling something like that specifically for smallmouth? Dog days of summer. What did we do that finally actually started working out and we started getting them on?
Which one?
The one that you hammered one on at the very end of the day.
Oh, the underspin.
Yeah.
That was the coolest freaking thing. He was packing up cameras and packing up rods before we brought the boat in, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try this one more time. Took the underspin, bombed it. I mean, bombed it. And I waited. I counted down probably 10, 12 seconds, and I was just slow rolling, just super, super slow, and then all of a sudden I got it back to the point where the line started kind of coming. Not vertical, but the bait was getting closer. And I just went crank, 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 and stopped it, and then continued, and it just went boom! It hammered it. And that was the coolest bite I've had all year so far. Well, yeah, one of them.
I'm sitting there packing up like all the GoPros and stuff, like we were done. And all of a sudden I hear, dude, and I look back and I was like, I was like, what? Like, my brain didn't process it. He's like, I did it! He's reeling it in.
You proud?
That was my first underspin fish ever.
And I got my first one that same day.
Yeah, and it was like
Was that my first one?
35, almost 40 feet of water.
But we were
casting, but we were right next to shallow.
Yep.
Super close. It was like I could see 5 feet of water, like right there.
But how far down do you think you counted it down? Did you already say that? I'm sorry.
10 or 12, 10
Yep.
or 12 seconds.
So, and then earlier to that, we're out 30, 35 feet. And I kept noticing it for like an hour, 2 hours even. Like, dude, I'm marking a ton of them anywhere from like 5 to 15, 20 feet at the bottom. So anywhere from, we'll say, 10 to 20 feet down. Like somewhere in that 10 to 20 foot depth. But they're kind of all over the place. But they're very clearly not up, very clearly not down. So it was like, well, I know an underspin's supposed to be good right about now for this specific scenario, so let's do it. Third cast, I think it?
Second or third.
Yeah, and just bombed that thing out. 3/8 ounce underspins, nothing crazy. I threw on a 3.3 inch swim bait, but it hit 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. It's not an exact science. It may not be a perfect 1 foot per second for fall rate, but it's roughly that. It's not close enough, right? You're gonna not him and haw over like 2 foot difference at the end of the day, even 3 feet.
They're gonna see it.
Right.
Clear water, they're gonna see it 20 feet away.
Now, if every single mark I saw was like 13 to 15 feet, I might be concerned. But I saw it from 10 to 20, and even 25 feet, actually, I think in a couple of instances.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge window to hit. So I was aiming for somewhere in the middle, and that worked. And I caught 2 like that, and I think I missed a third.
Yeah.
But we ended up having good luck with just long bombing casts the drop shot, too,
With
a lighter weight.
Fall?
I think so, for some of those bites, just giving them plenty of time to get away from the boat, let it see it as it's falling all the way down through the water column. A little bit longer tag than what we normally do. Not crazy, though, not like 2 or 3 feet like we had said.
Yeah, I was probably like, I don't know.
12, 14 inches?
Yeah.
Because we're typically like 8-ish inches when we do our tag. Almost all our fish, real short tag, bottom feeders. It works.
Mm-hmm.
But then you would stumble onto the longer tag, bombing it, and just letting it dead stick, dude. No action whatsoever, and it was working. And that kind of like did a little bit of everything. Expanding on what we said earlier, for those that missed it, we could have changed up further. Lighter drop shot weight, slower fall rate, much longer tag. So by the time it got down, this would hit, and your bait would have all this room to work with. Give the fish plenty of time to see it, and kind of make that final commitment to eating it. I didn't know how many fish. Almost every single fish we dropped on were following it. They were reacting to it. They just weren't committing.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of that difference maker. I'm not sure what else we could really. I mean, like that's like that 10,000 foot overview for dog days of summer for smallmouth fishing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else we could elaborate on. If you have any questions, think about it. I want to back up to the chat for a second here. Captain Whackpacker said, my buddy was messing around and put a Senko on a drop shot and caught a 5-pounder yesterday. I will neither confirm nor deny how good that is. Confirm, shut up. Jasper Redican. Some people punch heavy cover with a drop shot. Power shot. Yep, correct. Captain Whackpacker also said there was a tournament there on Ospey yesterday. The winning bag is 22 pounds. Yes, that was the Basscasters Elite Midweek. John Diaco, 22 pounds on 21 pounds and change on 5 fish. He had a 7.3 something pound largemouth.
That's it.
John is a hammer. That guy has been a hammer forever.
Damn.
Yeah. What? We left.
My name's John. I'm a him.
Oh, fuck you.
Ed.
What else we missed? Amanda, yes, you did hear Ossipee. Is that your Amanda or is that a different
No,
Amanda?
that's my Amanda.
Ah, hey.
Is your mom in the chat?
Captain
Know who your
Whackpacker.
wife is.
I know.
You guys ever used a flutter spoon? I have not. Didn't you try it once? Flutter spoon?
Yeah. It wasn't big. It wasn't big enough. It wasn't heavy enough.
No, that was like a little, not even 2-inch. Or about 2 inches?
No, I had one that was. It was probably 3.5, 4 inches, but it wasn't. It was super thin. It was wicked light. It was dumb. The sheriff. Howdy.
That was me, jerk.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sheriff Sean.
what about me? Who am I?
You're probably something a lot more inappropriate. Hey, Colton. Thanks for joining, buddy. Steven asked, ever used a Ned head as the weight? I have. And I know it's worked for other people. I have yet to catch a damn fish in the damn thing. I know it works great. I've done it with the Demiki rig. I've done it with a shaky head. I haven't done it with a jig yet. But I've done it with Demiki, Ned, and shaky head. And I've yet to catch a single fish biting it. And the last time I tried that was Brownie Factory, New Hampshire. Remember that one? I dropped down and wrapped around my trolling motor. I'd lift up my trolling motor to get it unstuck. But I had like 3 or 4 fish in a row that I lost because I saw them. They came up and jumped. And I saw my worm clearly not in their mouth, but they were holding on to the friggin' weight.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And they jump and it goes flying. So and that's when I was like, screw that, dude. I'm throwing on the Demiki rig.
Yep.
And I never got them to bite the damn thing again. So it's I know of it. I tried it. It hasn't worked for me, but I mean, Todd
Todd did it that one day,
for 2 largemouth.
and he doubled up. That was pretty cool.
It was a Ned rig, right?
What the hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was a Ned rig.
He's the only one I know of personally that's actually done it. It's successful.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Didn't know it was even legal.
That's what I was thinking.
I swear to God, I thought that I had read the rule in New Hampshire that it wasn't legal at first, and then they it was in their interpretation of the rule, and then after revisiting it, they're like, okay, yes, in this instance, doing something like that is legal.
Huh.
I'm almost positive, because I swear I remember reading that you straight up could not use multi-hook things. But I freely admit that I am very likely very wrong. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Worse.
Either way, it worked.
I'll tell you what, if someone rolls up on you and you got double hooks and you double up, they're going to think it's pretty cool. I don't think you're going to get in trouble.
No. Unless it's an Alabama rig. Alright, settle down.
Yeah. Hey, now.
I'm gonna start fucking throwing that thing. That law is stupid.
It is. So, when we go back to the St. Lawrence, it's legal out there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
That's
know.
gonna be
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Fuck that.
Did you guys have, is there anything else you wanted for like Dog Days of Summer smallmouth? For anything else you want to add to that? And this is also directed at you, chat. If there's anything else you want us to elaborate on for whether it's just questions in general or specific scenarios that you want us to tackle or anything with smallmouth, because and that's like we'll say that specifically is just like glacial lakes, right? All over New England, where you've got a good balance of smelt and crayfish and perch, your primary forages for smallmouth. This includes St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario, that area, because it's a totally different animal out there because of the damn gobies. It changes things.
Yeah, especially color.
Rivers, what about smallies and rivers? You can answer that.
Smallies and rivers are fun. That is all.
Yeah. River smallies are fun, for sure.
Now,
If you can find a spot on the river that doesn't have a homeless camp on it, then you won't get shanked.
saw that guy taking a shit that one day.
In the Connecticut, oh god. We were on the corner, we're like, there's a lot of homeless people here. And she's like, yeah, that one's taking a shit. I'm like, oh, yep, he is. Felt bad.
River smallies are fun. They fight a lot harder than
Yes.
lake smallies
Yep.
because they're always swimming like they're just one big muscle. I don't know how to elaborate on that. It's
You
just
what did you tell me? Like especially when we were up at
current brakes.
bingo.
Always work current brakes.
Yep.
If you're using, if say you have 360 or even if you have 2D sonar, if there's a big hump, fish the backside of it.
My coworker saying, "Is John not drinking beer? Tell him to step his game up."
Always
I
fish
want
current
to show
brakes.
what I'm drinking.
That's one of the things you told me when we first really started fishing river current, especially when we were on the St. Lawrence.
Smart woman.
Ooh. And TJ, Smallmouth Freaks on Instagram, when we were just up there with him, he said the same thing. He's like, dude, if you know how to tackle trout, then you know what you're doing up here.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So, from my experience, fishing river smallies is just like looking for those current breaks with trout.
Yep.
Those little sweet pockets. And what I actually noticed, so personally, when I, my father used to live on the Merrimack River, and he had a great break in front of his house, but they loved topwater. It didn't matter. The sun could be beaming down, and they still would nail
It's funny
topwater.
because smallies love topwater and the beating sun.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Well, not this past weekend. Holy shit.
No,
That was so
bastards.
bad. They were blowing up everywhere. Well, we think they were, but
I think it was everything. I definitely saw a trout. We know we saw a smallmouth jumping. I'm
we saw a
positive it
drum
was
the
carp.
size
It
of
had to
me.
have been carp.
Yeah,
There was a drum that was this fucking big. It was gigantic.
dude, they were everywhere out there. I got one to bump my bait, but he wouldn't commit. I was
Yeah.
so upset. So
That was
I would have liked that. Go for a
But-
little ride.
I want to catch a drum swim, just because.
There were a lot where we stopped.
Current brakes. Whether you're using 360, live scope, 2D sonar, or just casting your line out and see, oh wait, that's not as deep there. Fish the backside of it. That current brake, they're gonna be inside of that current brake where there's slack water, and they're gonna be sitting there waiting for something to come by or land right on top of them, come up over the hump, over a rock, over a log, anything like that. They're gonna be sitting behind it because there's less current. They don't have to work as hard to sit in that one spot. Something comes by, they're just gonna come out, still an ambush predator. They're still gonna come out, eat it, come right back to that one spot.
Yep.
And there could be dozens of fish in that one spot. If there's no structure for a freaking mile on a river, there could be dozens of fish on that one spot.
And bonus points for river fishing if you can move your bait with the current. Drift. I've had way more luck fishing where I can drift on the river at the same rate, pace of the current, keeping the bait down. Like drop shots, it's kind of hairy because more often than not you're fishing the river. You got a lot of rock and crap, so you're gonna hang up often. You're gonna lose a lot of bait.
You got brush piles. You got all sorts. Everything's coming down. It's getting caught on everything. There's big brush piles. There's trees. There's
Right,
cars. There's bikes.
There's
There's
going to be a tree before the big
everything.
rock pile because all the stuff that flows down.
Right. But my best days fishing in current has been fishing the damn current, getting into those current breaks. Like we have that spot late in the year. When the current's actually being pulled, that's when we've had our best days. I've had some pretty good days too, just like straight video game fishing, and I've gotten lucky with that. But more often than not, if they're pulling current, it's lights out difference. I mean, it's like night and day difference for the number and quality of fish that you can get. More than anything, quality is the biggest difference I've found. St. Lawrence River, we were up there. At one point, we pulled up, the first spot we pulled up to, the second day we were there, the day we went home, it was pulling really good current for like a brief moment. It's weird. It's a huge river, right? You wouldn't think it'd kind of change like that. But it did. In the matter of 2 hours, it went from like, hey, this is noticeable current to like, we're barely moving. What the hell happened? But that first spot we pulled up onto, we had good current and we had a great current break.
You know what?
And in like, what?
You want to know why?
Why?
Tidal water.
Would it really affect it that far up though?
100%.
That's like 100 miles. More than 100. That's like 200 miles.
Still going up. Still going
Good point.
down.
All right, fair point. Okay, I'll buy that.
Even though there's locks, there's still ways around it. It's
True.
still going to raise it still lower.
Yep. But so yeah, I mean, we had the first spot. I don't know, first 30 minutes, we had an 18.5 pound bag because we were drifting down. We came back to that same spot, and they were still there. We were marking them, all the same spot, like literally the exact same spot, same size as the whole 9 yards, and just they weren't biting. The current was totally different. So, food for thought when you're fishing the river. Thomas Gagnon asked, "Do you use a spy bait at all?" Yes, It's all right. I know it's really good. For me personally, I'm not a huge fan. It depends on the time of the year. Oddly enough, I like it better when I can fish it shallower.
I was a fan for one cast. and it didn't pan out.
Smallmouth. Smallmouth. Just this big black log of a smallmouth on Lake Ontario last year, the last day. I swear to God, we both lost, easily, both lost 2 over 5 pounds.
That was, yeah. Both
His,
guys
I
were
swear to
cool.
God, was 6. That was
Was
such
that big?
Dude, it was so big.
I didn't even, I was like worried about like just looking at my shit, make sure it's not gonna break, and I'm like, it jumped, I'm like, where is it?
I can still see it. Like, I'm staring out into space, it looks like, but I'm literally replaying that moment in my head again. Because you're fighting it, and it was going okay, and then it squared its shoulders. It's like, all right, dude, game on.
Yeah.
Come on.
and just kicked it up an extra notch. She's like, we gotta go, we gotta get it. I'm like, all right, yeah. And I swung the motor around high speed, and I got the net out, and I'm watching his line. And I see this thing come up 3 feet and throw his bait. And I think at the moment you were like swung around, like kind of looking down at your reel, like trying to manage it. It was big. At that point, it was only 20 feet.
I knew it was big. But we were also in like 3 feet of water, fishing rocks that, like, it was the weirdest rock. It was like ledge that was like all broken apart, but the rocks were all rounded, so they were
From like millennia of friggin' waves crashing through it and like breaking that seam up a little bit, and it rounded it, and it created like these these shelves underneath.
right. You could literally cast a bait in and swim it underneath between the rocks. Like, it was the weirdest thing, and they were stacked in them.
You want to know where I caught my biggest fish this
I'll be
last
right
trip?
there.
Literally in one of those, and it was
Oh, I
right
know
along
where
a
you're
seam,
talking.
and there was a depression.
The next island over.
Yep. And there was just a depression with like one juicy looking boulder. I went right over the seam, and as soon as I hit that depression, fuck, tink. I loaded into it, and it didn't move. I'm like, oh, I hit a rock, and then, oh god! That's all I could say the whole time fighting it. TJ, I was like, please stay on this time, because literally so I've been there 3 times now, and first fish, the first trip, 2019 and 2020, was a giant, and I lost him both times. And 3 friggin' years in a row, first fish is a giant, and I didn't lose it the 3rd time. 4.85 pounds, biggest fish I've caught up there so far.
It was because of the rod.
It absolutely was.
I'm telling you.
I have a beautiful 7.3, medium light, fast,
Yeah, extra fast, I think.
extra fast, medium light, extra fast.
Oh my god, it's incredible.
Dude.
I built it, and I was like, dude, I want to take this out and use this before I give it to you.
It is my ultra finesse rod, specifically meant for throwing like 1/16 ounce stuff. 1/10 ounce Ned rigs, 1/16 ounce basically jig heads with like 2.5 inch swim baits, like things like that. That stuff that even with the 4000 series rod, I'm still bombing it well over 150 feet some days. I'm a little low on line, like you can clearly tell there's like a good lip on the reel, so I need to buy another spool because I ran out of line when I was lining it. I didn't put enough backing on it when I did it, so I screwed myself. But if I actually max it out and get the most out of it, I should be able to hit 150 feet like consistently.
I want to encourage everyone to switch over to the North Fork.
Oh my god, dude, the sensitivity on that's insane.
It's 1.6 ounces, the blank.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 7'3" blank, 1.6 ounces.
It's stupid good. I had a question from a text. Your opinion on water temp here in New Hampshire, early morning flats and then steep drop-offs in relation to spawning flats.
I'll go for the steep drop-offs.
I will too.
That's like the only thing I haven't. So I was gonna say, I know we got off on a little whatever, but for me, especially in these grinds of the summer days, there's nothing wrong with sticking with what you have on. You know, there's nothing saying you have to go out and be like Sean and buy 600 packs of baits.
I have no regrets.
There's times where I bring 9 rods out and I literally end up using 2. And most of the time, the 2 end up with 2 similar baits.
How many rods do I bring out every time?
5, 6? All the ones you own.
5.
5. I think it's 6.
He does.
I think you're right. 5.
I
He
only-
will have.
I only really.
He will have
use-
7.
He will.
I really
No.
only use 3.
8.
Crank,
Crank, swim bait,
swim, and drop.
drop.
Oh shit.
I forgot.
You're
I
like,
forgot your crankbait, and I also forgot the set of guides to show Sean. I was so mad. I left, and I was like, I don't have time. I had to get gas.
Damn it, John.
I had 16 miles to empty, and it's
Fine.
it's 22 here. So
But I goes to show though. Sean will bring 346 rods.
14.
I bring 9.
I bring all 14.
I'll bring
Oh,
anywhere
I-
between. Well, I mean, last time we went out, I brought 3 rods.
Yep. It worked.
A moving
But-
bait, a jig, and then something I can throw something off the wall.
I will say,
Oh, my swim bait.
as much as we bring, a lot of the times we're setting up for exactly what that question was. We're going to go out in the morning. We're going to try and get a topwater smallie.
Yep.
We're going to check that flat, the known areas, I'll call them, and then we'll start getting to those transition points. For me, I love looking at those steep drops, you know, where it comes up. And again, something that comes up might actually be, you know, 80 feet to 40 foot. And you have those tight transitions. Just check your maps, check your navionics, you know, get a cheap app. I have a Solix and it sits in my basement right now because I haven't been using my boat because I fish with this kid all the time. But I literally use my phone all the time, and as we're out and looking, and sometimes when we have those grinding days, we're just like, all right, well, let's just check this area. You know, it might not have the known structure, but that's how you find a new point in those grinding days, and it's just using what else you know. But again, so Sunday
Like
was
mornings.
when we went out, right?
Did
Yeah.
what was the question? You asked morning.
Morning. Hang on, let me back
Morning
up.
flats,
You said
spawning flats.
early morning flats and then steep drop-offs in relation to spawning flats. Your opinion on water temp here in New Hampshire. Early morning flats and then steep drop-offs in relation to spawning flats. Early morning,
Early morning, I'm working. I will work a wake bait or some sort of, probably a Texas rig, something slow and moving
specifically for smallmouth.
for smallmouth. Okay. Top water,
Yep.
like a spook, or
I'll throw a whopper
like
plopper.
whopper plopper,
Yeah, like the big
or-
one though, like the, what is it, the
I
190
do
or
a
something?
smaller
Yeah.
one.
Really?
If I had
A smaller one like the 75 or
No,
like
the
110.
the 110. All right.
Whatever
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
The one there's
Yeah.
110, 130, 75 and the 190.
or spook or a popper with a feather.
Yep.
Pompadour.
Pompadour.
You got one of those.
I do, yeah, dude. That thing, I've only thrown it in the morning twice now, and one day it actually did
Was
okay.
that the friggin' bladed thing?
With
Good
the wings.
Yeah, it went blah 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 blah, and then this fish went ka smash, and he's like, he throws it back out, and he's like, I think the fish broke it. And I
He
was like,
did.
if that fish just broke it and you didn't land it, that was the kicker, because you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
That sucked. But I mean,
it
I
was
like
sick.
it.
It was awesome. The action on it was definitely different.
Now I want to buy like a custom built one from like, you know, like small time like swim bait making guy, like something like that, giant and like durable. Great. It's the best secret out there. Don't do it. Thank my buddy Travis for that one. He's the one that put me onto it.
Yeah, I remember using it.
Hey Mark, sorry missed you, buddy. I don't know. For me to answer that question, I'm more about the steep drop-offs. I know plenty of guys that kill it on top water. I just don't have the freaking confidence to do it. I will start like right below that breaking edge of the steep bank and work my way down.
Yep.
Yeah, drop-offs are definitely
Like 2 foot increments.
pretty much
Can
my
change
favorite
everything.
thing in the world
Yeah.
in fishing. Steep drop-offs or rock piles.
Well, it's like, so Big Island Pond, and you know that's in whatever Hampstead and Atkinson.
In Derry, yeah, it's
In
like
Derry.
3 or 4 towns.
Right.
Touch it.
So I call it like mini Massabesic, or because it has all those branches off of it. But there's a couple spots that all of a sudden you'll be, you know, cruising and it's 6 foot deep, and then it just drops right off to 40. And then there's some of like the Boulder Cove and things like that where
Places.
you can literally be 5 foot offshore and you're in 18 or 19 foot of water. Then it drops down to 32, and then it goes flat. There's no rock piles, and it's literally it just comes in. It's the topography of the land. You can look out and see it, and it basically matches. So if you have a big hill coming down to the water, it's likely that the hill is going to continue down into the water. So you just look at shit like that. You don't even need a graph sometimes in some of those places.
I
That
don't
one in
even.
particular.
I don't even hook my graph up when I go out on my own boat ever. The last time I did it was, jeez, I don't even know.
A while
just,
ago.
just to see what the water temp was, and I unhooked it and threw it back in the freaking locker. I don't ever use it. I think I don't. I fish enough where I know
Right.
what I'm fishing.
Yeah.
And what depth, and the ponds I usually go to, or lakes that I usually go to with my boat, I know pretty freaking well. And it's. I don't know where I'm going with
It's
this.
definitely it's changed a lot for me though. Like, you know, my wife and I fish this little pond that is just full of dinks. It's absurd, but I also know that there's 5s, 6s, and 7s in there. And one of the first times I took my wife out there, I took her out there just to catch numbers, and all of a sudden it started pouring on us. We went in. We waited a half hour for the rain to pass. The second cast out there, she pulled in a 4. I was like, God
I
damn it.
remember that.
I'll never forget it because it was one of those moments where I tucked my tail between my legs when she asked, I don't see what's so hard about this.
Sorry if it gets a little loud. I'm opening the door to a little fan. Let a little more air in here.
But, you know, again, I don't want to cut us off our smalley trap or talk, but I'm a steep bank guy all the way, and I will tell you, I am not as bad as Sean, because Sean is definitely the quickest switching bait person ever. We'll set up again. We'll set up with 6 or 8 rods, and Sean will throw something twice and then switch to, you know, what we're more confident in. But I can definitely say,
To an extent.
I will stick with what I'm confident in until I put a fish in the boat. Normally, you know, get that skunk off.
I'm pretty good at grinding.
Yeah, I would say that, and going really slow. You're really good at slow.
At this point, I know I'm good at both. At fishing fast and fishing slow. I fished fast
you've
my
gotten a
entire
lot
life.
better.
I'm a lot better now at fishing slow. I'm getting better at recognizing when to do one or the other. That's the hardest thing.
I will say that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
if I'm
This
throwing
past
a,
weekend
if I'm
showed.
throwing a jig for 45 minutes and I haven't gotten a bite yet, there's something wrong. I have to switch.
Right. And is it that one spot and you just get another spot to grind, or is it more run and gun? Like, we really kind of learned that lesson again for I don't know how many times when we fished that tournament of Winnipesaukee, where we didn't realize it until the last really only the last hour and a half that we had to fish
Yeah.
before it finally, like, it clicked.
Well, that was dumb.
Right. But then the
Should've
moment we
done this
switched to it, all of a
hours
sudden
ago.
we started catching fish after fish after fish after fish. We're like, son of a bitch.
It was just weird for me being out on a lake, on a big lake, fishing shallow.
Yeah, you should have tried being out there and running the spots the weekend prior and not finding anything. That was
don't-
probably our first tell
Don't
of.
believe
Well, no, but
I
we were
don't.
just trying to
Just
find.
'cause stuff. I mean, you can find fish, but they can move 500 yards in a matter of an hour.
Yeah.
It just won't be.
I totally agree, but I think for me, it was hot the couple days prior when we went home, and then it sucked the day we went. It wasn't that nice.
No, but once we kind of figured out, like, oh shit, okay, they're kind of doing this,
Right.
it made sense given the weather patterns and the conditions leading up to it. And more importantly, everything stayed consistent weather-wise for the next 5 days.
Right.
So it was like, holy shit, this isn't just viable. Like, it's not a fluke. At the time, it didn't look like a fluke thing because it had already, like, the stage had been set for several days leading up to the day we fished. So there's already consistency there, and then it was consistent after that. So, I don't know, man. That was a tough one.
So it's dog.
It
days,
didn't
man.
help. Well, it didn't help that when we got there, there's only 3 friggin' boats in there fishing. No, 2 boats.
There's
One
2
had
boats.
3 guys
Yeah,
on it.
one
One guy was a tournament.
And the jet ski came in.
Then that's what it was. Jet ski with 2 people on
I'm
it.
not saying I don't believe in pre-fishing. I don't believe in pre-fishing as what people see it as. Pre-fishing,
Oh, no,
you go
I don't-
find the fish.
I
The
don't
fish are
either.
there. They're biting this. I believe in pre-fishing. I mean, prime example, Pawtuckaway tournament.
Right.
I pre-fished it, but I was going out because I knew the water condition, the water clarity, the bottom, the structure, everything was similar
Mhm.
to the place we were going. I just wanted to go out and see what color, what they were going to be biting.
Right.
They're
And that
not-
worked.
It worked very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the lake you pre-fished, totally different body of water, nowhere near the place we actually fished the tournament at.
Right.
But it has almost the exact same forage, almost the exact same water clarity, has identical structure
Right.
and depth and contour changes the whole 9 yards. So like that's a great pre-fishing strategy.
I
Well,
won't
we're
go-
fortunate that we have that.
Right. And we could literally find that for almost any type of body of water around here
Right.
in a small pond.
Yeah.
Because we have big glacial lakes, we have small glacial ponds, we have big shit lakes, we have small shit ponds. We literally have everything in New England,
Yeah.
Right.
and very fortunate to have all.
So I want to move the conversation forward. It's already 9:15. Chad, I saw your text. I'm sorry, buddy. We're gonna move on. There's a couple things I want to wrap up though. Both for the smallmouth dead of summer fishing, just kind of a final parting point here. But also, there's a couple of comments I want to get to in the chat. Captain Whackpacker asked, "What's your next tournament?" This Sunday, a swim bait only tournament, and as they put it in the rules, I still don't know what the limit's going to be. I meant to look at that earlier,
I hope
and
it's one fish.
I'm hoping it's only 2 fish. If it's 4 fish, it's gonna be a grind.
That's gonna be. We're not gonna.
But it's alright. It's cheap money. It was with a bunch of good people. It's literally for bragging rights. It's winner takes all. So
it's for fun.
right.
Really.
4 fish limit. Thank you, Jason.
Oh man, this is gonna be tough. I hope we get all
it's-
4 in the morning.
Right.
Seriously.
It's $50 total for the 2 of us. $25 each. It's cheap money. Winner takes all. One pays out 1 place for lunker. Minimum 6 inches on soft body swim baits. Minimum 5 inches on hard body swim baits. No Kitex
Right.
of any size. Period.
Doesn't
Really?
matter. Yep.
Yeah. Which
He said no Kitex.
High-tech brand.
yeah. Period. Like
I think
Kitech style.
For like the 7-8 or whatever the hell that big one is.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Jasper asked, "You want us to move the chairs?" Yeah. Why don't you come around this way, buddy? Or
I work
is
on the
awesome.
table today.
He's literally
let
going
me just get out of the way.
under the table.
What did Cinderella say when she got to the ball?
Yeah.
Wow, inappropriate. Jasper, how do you know if it's time to change versus when the bite just sucks? Excellent question.
I feel like it's one and the same. If you don't get on them, you're gonna debate the opposite. I didn't change, or I did change and I shouldn't have. That's the way I feel. I
Right.
feel like the grinding days that we have, where it's Champlain. We recorded 7 hours and 52 minutes of footage. I pulled in 1 fish.
Yeah, that was a little different because we were fishing the same area where, like, that was a unique set of circumstances, right? It's kind of like an outlier
Okay.
because we were fishing the same area that had already been hammered for
Agree.
like Thursday,
Agreed.
Friday, Saturday, for the 3 straight days prior to us, and that same day.
Yep.
And we really only fished 2 spots.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to who the hell was I talking about that? It may have just been Andrew. Like after the fact, and as I typically do, I will spend like the half of the next day after I fish somewhere where it didn't go as well as I'd hoped, reviewing everything I did and wondering what the hell should we have done differently.
Right.
If we weren't fishing with friends, because the whole point of that was to be with those guys and follow them
Absolutely.
around.
And that's what it was. And we
Right.
did that. It was great.
Yep.
I thoroughly enjoyed the day. for
I did
sure.
too. If we weren't following them, I would have left that first spot after the first hour.
Yeah.
And I would have started running and gunning because at that point, like, there wasn't enough consistency in what was happening to justify, like, stay there and grind it out. Like, that should have been more run and gun day.
Okay. We'll switch it a little bit.
So the bite kind of sucked, but not really. Like, I mean, it kind of sucked for us, but we were in between spots. So we should have made a change versus the bite sucked because DJ on one side of us out deeper was hammering it, and then Sean on the other side of us on one very specific steep breaking point,
Yeah.
speaking of that earlier, was hammering it too, and we were kind of trying to find something in between the two of what they were doing to make it work.
But
In that instance, that would have been run and gun.
you dropped 2
did.
large fish.
There was really hard.
There
time
was
dropping
no
fish Sunday.
doubt. There was no doubt in my mind that would have been the big fish of the day. I
Which
don't know
one? The Carolina rig one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Carolina rig is freaking sweet.
Dude, he tied it on and got absolutely smoked. Like loaded up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then it was like my sex life. It was there and then done. Boom. No shame.
We're in the same boat. No pun intended.
Nice.
So, I've been thinking about that a lot, Jasper. How do you know if it's time to change versus when your bite just sucks? I know this is what we're talking about, but I want to reiterate the question as I continue to expand upon that. And I want Andrew to expand upon that after. Because that's that point that I've been trying to, get better at. Like, the last few years was, I knew I had to get better
Sucks when versus when it's time to
at slowing down. Like,
I said it's once.
really grinding out a spot when you know the fish are there and you just got to figure out what they need. Sometimes it's just a matter of slowing way the hell down, but sometimes the other times could be the weight you're throwing, how fast hitting the bottom, How much are you moving it? What color? Like, you know, things like that.
Or making sure you're chasing the right fish. How
Yeah,
many
that too.
How many Lakers did we see, or whatever?
How
We
many
saw
Lakers did we catch last
we
week?
saw
Yeah,
trout
that.
because it had the 2 dorsal fin.
Yep.
Remember? Because all day everyone was like, "Wow, right there," and we're casting on it. We're not catching shit.
And I just happened to finally
It
be looking at a
finally-
spot. One
it was
came
just
up, and I
perfect.
saw both dorsal fins. I was
Yep.
like, nope, that's trout.
Yep.
I'm
Turn
done.
back. Put it in reverse, Terry.
Find your like best go-tos for your baits, right? For different presentations. Go to your highest probability areas. And that's a saying I've said many times in this stream since we started it. If you can't get bit on like some of the most reliable go-tos, like a green pumpkin tube with a lightweight in it, like 3/16 or maybe like a 1/4 ounce, a drop shot with a 3.5-inch green pumpkin, right?
A Senko.
Spider jig, Senko, like any of those things in the like highest probability areas, like this time of the year, go out and, you know, if it's a deep glacial lake, a hump in 30-ish feet, or even better, maybe 25 feet, because the water temp's not that hot yet, and working at the top and working all the way around. If you can hit 3 or 4 of those spots with all of those go-to baits and you're not hitting anything, especially if you add in that extra element of there's been no tournaments there for the last 2 weeks, so you know it's not a pressure thing, it's safe to say the bite probably just sucks. However, if you haven't run a handful of those high probability spots with your best, most producing baits that you have the most confidence in, and really thoroughly hit those high probability areas, and can you say that the bite sucks versus you just need to move, time to change? Are you really marking bait, or are you only marking a couple things here and there? Are you marking a ton of fish if you're not marking bait? Because maybe sometimes you don't mark the bait, depending on what it's doing. Like, you have to be thorough, and you have to be thorough. My wife asks me almost every time the night before I go fishing, especially even going far, like, what's your plan for tomorrow? Well, for years,
we'll see in the morning.
right? For years, my answer has always been, well, what's your plans for tomorrow? What time are you gonna be home? My answer has always been, it depends on how the day goes. Because for the first couple of years, if the day sucked, I'd be home by noon. It doesn't matter what the day is doing now.
Yeah.
I don't come home till 4 or 5 in the afternoon, because even if the day sucks, I put in the time to make absolutely sure the day sucked.
That's
you know?
why we usually put fish in the book.
Right.
9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100. When we go out, we put fish in the book.
Yeah.
It's rare that we get skunked. This spring was the worst spring we've ever had, where I got skunked 4 times. I think you got skunked 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but aside from that, like, it's just they're biting somewhere,
Yeah.
and they're biting something somewhere. So it's, but I mean, you can definitely still get a bite or two, and the day just sucks, and you just happen to find this 1 or 2. Like, oh, what the hell? Fine, I'll finally bite.
Say
So
you're
it's-
driving down the road and you see a restaurant with outside seating. There's usually at least one person there eating.
It's a really good analogy. I like it.
They're always eating. There's always something in that pond.
Jake,
You
I'm
just gotta figure out what they.
Right.
I'm hungry. I'm fucking starved.
Captain Backpacker also asked, you guys ever think about setting up a little tournament with your fans? Why don't we all go to Ospey on Sunday? Everyone throw us in $10 for big bass. That's actually been brought up 2 or 3 times now.
We should do that.
I think I brought it up as well.
I think you're right. So that's something I'd like to do. Not this year. Now it's already too late. That would be like a spring or a summer thing.
Yeah.
I'm a high school bass fishing coach, and my practices / tryouts actually start next week. So I'm gonna be tied up basically for the rest of the year. Get those kids through their state qualifying tournament, and if we're fortunate, they have a good day, they'll have the state championship. That would be October 2nd. So right now I'm committing myself from this, basically after this Sunday, all the way through to October. I still have to make time for one of our subscribers that won a fishing trip with us from when we did the apparel sale, so like tied up. There's no way it's gonna happen this year. Maybe as the channel grows a little bit more over the winter, more people interested, I think we could do something next year. In
Tell
the
your
summer.
friends
Make
Yeah.
it happen,
about us.
right? Get me to 10,000 subscribers, then we'll talk.
Yeah, and then you can have
That's
10,000.
good. We're not that well.
That's
I say
a
we.
big tournament.
Seriously.
Yeah, Winnie's trouble. Hey John, glad you could join us, buddy. All right, so Jesus, this is going on forever, but that's okay. It's been
But it's so
productive.
good. It's so good right now. I'm enjoying this.
Dog days of summer, smallmouth. What are your go-tos? And your 2 go-to baits, and how are you going to use them?
There's so many.
Yeah, but there's two things you always go out there with.
Drop
tied
shot
on.
and either jig or tube.
What kind of jig?
A Beast Coast jig. A Beast Coast Hustler.
Mm,
In, what the hell's the name of that? Dirtbag.
dirtbag. Yep.
Yeah.
What else was the question? Sorry.
No, you got it. You said jig and drop shot, and then how are you gonna use them?
How am I going to use them? I'm going to fish them.
You're still
Drop
smart.
shot. Well, we're going to find bait first, obviously, because we went over that already. And we're going to find the structure that the bait is around. If the fish are feeding on bottom. And going to really just work all the way from the top of the structure down to the bottom of the structure, whether it's a rock pile, whether it's a brush pile, whether there's...
Kyle, so you said live scope with a drop.
You don't have live scope. Sorry,
Not
can't do
yet.
that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
If I'm lucky, we'll have it by the end of the year.
And but a jig, I'm gonna be... I like to work the shady side in dead summer. Hey Kyle. And but same thing, we'll work it deep, find that structure down deep, big boulders, big secluded boulders, or big rock piles, and just hammer the piss out of it until either we catch something or we don't, and then we move to the next. And
Yep.
we just keep doing that over and over and over and over, and then we will catch fish.
For me, drop shot, number one, always. Which is evidenced by my insanely expensive, but so nice custom drop shot rod from Wicked Custom Rods.
Insane expensive.
Okay, it's not really insane expensive. It is, oh my god, the thing is so nice though.
It really is. I'm gonna build my own.
Dude, even drop shotting with a 3/8 ounce lead drop shot weight in 35 feet of water, like every single goby, I swear to God, I could feel him like swimming by it. I know it's an exaggeration, but like the sensitivity on this new rod is just ridiculous. So drop shot is always my number one. I'm going to start with about a 10-inch tag, and more often than not, to start my preferred way, I'm going to video game fish. I'm going to wait for them to come by, and I'm going to drop straight down on them because I've gotten really good at being able to narrow that down. Tag length, weight, color, action I want to put into it, the whole 9 yards. If something goes by, this year excluding, I can snipe the majority of those fish that come by. And actually, last year was even kind of tough. But it wasn't terrible.
The last 2 years, literally watched you. Things don't bite. It's
Especially,
been working so long.
right, especially the second half of last year. But prior to that, oh my god, dude, there was like hardly a fish I couldn't snipe when I dropped down on it.
Right.
Yeah.
But this year especially has been tough.
That's how we used to go out though. Oh,
Well,
smallmouth
so-
fishing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Turn the graph on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, spider jig. That's my number 2 because that's my cover water thing. With it's big, but it's still finesse presentation. So like that's I've got 2. My drop shot can do both where it's bottom contact, but I can still catch fish suspending because I can adjust my presentation, and I can still bomb the thing too and catch those fish that are suspended. But then if I really want to kind of cover water fast and really hammer away and pick away at structure, that's where my spider jig comes in. So those are my top 2.
Then you that open water sniper though might be creeping up.
I've only had to throw it twice so far. That thing's that new open water, the OW sniper from Beast Coast. It's a tungsten resin well, there's a couple different weights. It's tungsten resin football jig with no brush guard. It's got like that tungsten resin comes out as really nice bait keeper and a 2/0 hook. Thing looks money. Dude, that thing is insane. I actually already had a subscriber. I don't even want to say any more than that, other than he absolutely hammered it this past weekend in New Hampshire. A 5+ pound smallie, a 4.7 pound smallie, like a 4.1 something, all on that jig. Stupid. That thing, like with Travis Manson, Smallmouth Crush, like putting in the time and effort to help out with Beast Coast, like between the two of them getting that thing done, they nailed it. They knocked that one out of the park. That
Definitely.
thing is. His jig lineup is stupid.
It's
with how much
amazing.
good shit he has. Like he's got the whole gambit of jigs now.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's not like completely exploded into this giant brand.
Oh, well, in the last year, he's.
I mean, he has.
I think he's moved twice in the last year and a half
I was
because
gonna
he's been
say,
growing so fast.
Between that and the amount of product that he's been putting out, like if you don't get on him, he sells out.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even know if he has his max fields back, but
Nope, they've been hard to get.
I think when there was still ice, I put in a $190 order of just jigs, and then I followed it up with $130 more of them once the other stuff was stocked. So
I bought a bunch of those open water sniper jigs for November.
yeah,
The day they dropped. They dropped at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday or a Thursday, I forget, one of those days. At 5:01, I had like a $200 order in just on those jigs,
God.
and I would say 2/3 of them I'm not even going to throw for the next 2 or 3 months.
that's okay.
But I
good to
did
have
not
them.
want to not have them for when that cold water rolls around.
You're not gonna not get Randy Jackson's on.
I can't wait for 40-degree water.
I can't wait for another 8-week run.
Oh,
November.
Dude,
Staunch Beast Crew, wholeheartedly agree with you. Deep flats, right outside steep banks, the mix of veg and rock. You got the whole gambit right there.
there you go.
I'll finish up mine then.
Right
So my smallmouth go-to baits and really anything. I'm huge into bottom contact, so all the shaky heads, Ned heads, things like that. And I'll change up my Ned so it falls slower. You know, the 1/10 ounce, all the way up to a 1/4 ounce, and then up to 3/8 for a shaky head. Like the Smalley Beavers from Reaction Innovation is one of my go-to baits. Things like that.
Those are wicked good.
And then I've really tried putting in more time with the jig. I won't say it's my most confident bait. I know it catches bigs. I watch these guys smash around, and I just want to break my rod in half. But those are my go-tos. And then definitely a drop shot. And for me, bladed jig to cover water, especially if it's something new. A lot of these places that I'm going that are big water are first times for me, besides the Lake Region area. And a lot of the local ponds now, but you know, Champlain was a first for me, so I'll tie out things that are going to cover some water.
I still haven't even been to Champlain.
We'll get you. We got time. We're gonna be up there a lot this fall.
We're going to do a 2-day trip.
Pretty much
I already told you.
October 1st until ice. Like last 2 months of the year, literally all of November. Well, most of October, November, December. We're gonna be.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're usually on open water all year until.
And then once it's in, once
Almost ice
Vermont
out.
locks up, once Vermont locks up, we'll go.
To Mass and Connecticut.
Striper fishing again.
Oh my God, we had to make time for that in December. All right, sorry. So Dan Scanlon, what head do you like for your spider jig? Either a 3/8 ounce ball jig or football jig. I personally prefer a football or even a 1/2 ounce, but I typically like a 3/8 ounce because it's kind of a good cross between getting their attention on the fall but maintaining pretty good bottom contact if I really want to drag it. The thing I found though with a 3/8 ounce ball head or football head, like a football head doesn't typically like to stand on a spider jig. I tested it. It might be different when it's down in 30 feet of water, but testing it shallow, it just still rolls over, so it doesn't even matter. Ball head's better for crawling through rocks. It doesn't get hung up in nearly as much. Lead-free bass jigs out of Massachusetts makes a great 3/8 ounce with a 3/0 or a 4/0 hook.
Yeah, got it too.
Yep, and that's all I use. Both actually footballs and ball heads. And they double really great as a tube hook too if you want to go to 3/8 ounce. And it's cheap money. The guy makes great quality stuff. I've been using it for like 7 or 8 years now.
I will say so. Sean actually turned me on to them, and they are probably one of the better ones I've seen.
Yep, the guy's phenomenal, and it's all lead free, so you can't go wrong.
Yep.
All right, largemouth and shallower water. We talked a lot about smallmouth. One of the things I make sure I really want to cover because I don't know, man. What like at least 2/3 of all bodies of water in New England are kettle ponds, or
Absolutely.
like a kettle pond type of fishery, small-ish, shallower, kind of tannic water, like somewhere in that stained category.
Milfoil, maybe a tree, maybe a rock.
Yeah, or all of the above,
Or a big giant
typically
bowl.
lots of vegetations. So let's talk dead of summer largemouth and some of our go-tos, because we actually just did this, and that's like half our fishing all year long is kettle ponds, because that's all we're surrounded by. So we're local, that's all we really get to choose from. If we want to fish anything other than that, we're like about an hour ride from a couple of good options.
Yeah.
There's a couple within 45 minutes, but like hour to hour and a half is typically where we want to go to get away from like your typical like smaller body of water, kettle-ish kind of pond that is very typical of New England. So, speaking to those smaller bodies of water, largemouth, when talking dog days of summer, for me, 2 things that are my best friends, and they're both vegetation: shallow lily pads, offshore grass.
Yep.
Those are the 2 things I look for the most. Rocks are still definitely viable, same with fish and timber and everything, but I have more consistency up in the thickest lily pads and the deepest offshore grass that I can find. Any of those two things are my absolute go-to. It just works great. You get the shallow water shade that all the thick vegetation, lily pads, whatever provides. Lots of great cover for them, just not just shade, but it's cover so they can ambush from it and everything. But then out in the deeper water, they've got that thick vegetation. For whatever reason, it's more consistent. They like being down in and around that. I think the bait fish are down in there. It's a good ambush point if anything's roaming by, depending on what kind of forage your lake has. Like, that's, for me, that's kind of our starting point. That's where the vast majority of our fish come from.
Yeah.
When we're talking about places like that.
Yeah.
And we rarely have to change it up, but when we do, we usually find areas that's like a nice, we'll call it funnel point, in between those two. Very specific to what we just saw when we were out Monday night in the afternoon.
Yes.
We went and
Yep.
first started with our offshore vegetation. Didn't pan out.
Nothing.
But the wind was blowing up to that side. So we're like, but I'd said that because we parked the boat, we'll say north of the patch of the offshore weed pile. And the wind was blowing, from the south to the north. And so behind us, on the very northern side, the wind was blowing up into really shallow, thick vegetation. Lots and lots of lily pads. But in between the two, in this kind of dead zone area, but was it 6 to 8 feet of water out there, which is about average for this place?
Yeah.
I said to Tim, I was like, dude, I'm marking fish like crazy. And like every 5 minutes, I'm like, dude, look. And you just see like half the freaking graphs, just one giant mark swimming underneath. We're like,
it was, I don't know. That was big fish.
yep,
I don't know what it was, but it was big.
big.
A couple times.
Messages. What else? All right. Well, I mean, so that for me personally is what I'm looking for. Bait does not necessarily have to be present like they do for smallmouth. It's helpful. We seem to definitely do better when we're marking a ton of bait, especially when we're in those in-between areas. Not always necessary because a lot of the times we are into the thick of it, and you're not going to see them inside of all that. But it's an awesome place for them to be, so everything's in there. So now we're talking like heavier stuff, right? Bait casters, 12-pound minimum for your line, particularly now we're talking like 15 to 20 pound. A lot of braid applications, bigger baits, bigger weights, the whole 9 yards. We are trying to get into the thick of it.
Yes.
And go from there. Before we continue on with that, do either one of you want to drink? I'm going to get something so you two can continue the conversation.
All right, we'll continue.
All right. So I set the stage. Elaborate. Well, I get a drink.
You want to go? Go for it.
So, thick.
Thick.
Like, I'm
Double
talking
C.
thick with triple C.
Triple.
Buzz baits for sure, Steve. I'm a fan of throwing buzz baits, and I'll throw it into the thick, and if it comes over, same thing. I like, what is it, Teckle sprinkler frog.
Yeah.
I like that because it runs over nice as a frog, and then it hits those open and that paddle tail gets going. That's one of my baits that I really like using. T-rig craw, that's a big one. For me, Sean and I, just going back to the bait aspect of it, the last few times him and I have gone to a couple of these kettle ponds, and we're in the thick, and finding them, we're tracking them, we're seeing, where they're going and things like that. We definitely have had at least 2 times now where the color was what made the difference. Where I was actually throwing green pumpkin red flake, he was throwing just green pumpkin, and it made the difference. And I think he probably put 6 in the boat before I put one on, and then I started catching them as well. I've had that. That one's really good.
Sorry. On the topic of beer, when I want something really light duty, Boat Mountain out of Intervale or North Common, New Hampshire, Miss V's Blueberry. It's really a very, very subtle blueberry flavor, but it's super light drinking, but really good. It's a great warm weather beer.
I love Boat Mountain in general, especially
Delicious.
Hot
Now I'm hungry.
summer large.
What do you got?
What's your favorite bait? Damn right.
Jig. We're signing the shady side of boulders. The biggest boulder you can find on the shady side of it.
What's your go-to for weight, head style, trailer? Like colors, size of the trailer, like style of trailer. Like break down your favorite jig setup.
You just want to know my secrets.
I already know because I fish.
So
You don't
I
have to
use,
give away your
I use a lot of the Gory's custom for my largemouth setup. For my jig setup for largemouth, I use Gory custom baits. I use his jigs. I believe it's a 5/16 football head, but it looks like a half-ounce regular football head. Like that's the size of it, and but it's only 5/16.
Right? Tin
I think
bismuth.
it's tin bismuth. I believe
Yeah.
so. Yeah. But I throw a fat trailer on it, so that thing sinks kind of slow, but it really gets those legs moving on the trailer, and they love it, absolutely love it. It's just a big fat profile, sinking slow. And when it hits, it just lays down. They just hammer. I think that's why, but I don't know why they love it so much, but they do, and I do very well with it. I like throwing chatterbaits a lot in the summer on flats later in the day. Jig color and weight doesn't matter as long as you fish it right.
This is true.
I mean, you are 100% true. Maybe I'm just fishing it right. I don't know.
I would say so.
When it's super, super windy, spinnerbait.
Yep.
100% throw spinnerbait on the edge of lilies, across rock piles, across really down banks, anywhere, across points. But I'm working across it to really get my maximum, well, so that fish will see it. So I pull it in front of the most fish I can. What's the throw? I really
So
don't.
that's
Chatterbait, spinnerbait.
yeah. I was gonna
spinnerbaits.
say the chatterbait. So I don't know if I've been using them a ton because I like the jackhammer as well, but those new cross-eye ones with
Yep.
the weed guards. So Z-Man chatterbait, they have the cross eyes.
I can do something completely different.
It's like almost like a forked like
Yeah.
wire, like brush guard.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
rolls off well. Like, because remember when we were up on Winnie, you
Yep.
kept getting caught up, and I was like, dude, I'm telling you, I was fishing 19 feet apart from each other, throwing in the same spots, and that was making a difference. But I like doing the, the Beast Coast Marauders that they have.
Yep.
And I leave those full length. Sometimes if I feel like I'm getting short struck, I'll take it off and, bite off a half inch and stick it back on there. But I also put it on sideways so it gives that paddle tail action as it's coming in. Another thing that we noticed for sure, the gold versus silver blade.
Yep. Depending
Sometimes
upon lighting.
same colors.
Mm-hmm.
Especially again in these finicky kettle ponds where they're sitting and they're looking for something. If they're seeing silver and not going for it, doesn't mean you can't throw on gold and try that.
Yep.
That was the
Just like
difference.
blade baits.
Yep. So
Yeah,
that's-
exactly.
I started using a different chatterbait this year. Joe from Granite State Tackle gave me this little pack of, I think it's 2-pack.
2-pack Shafir.
Yeah, 2-pack Shaker. I don't even know what they are chatterbait brand, but it's, how do you describe that? It's a
It's a-
weedless, skirtless, it's just a bare bone chatterbait with,
Like just the actual cast and
It almost looks like a Daniki rig head. Like it's a ball head with like bigger eyes on the
it
side.
literally has eyes are like what it is.
Yeah,
Really?
but
And
it's naked. But it's got a slightly different style profile to the blade. Not crazy, but ever so slightly different. That thing hunts.
I also throw a paddleless, just a straight bait on it. No, like a fluke.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, like a fluke. And that thing, it goes, and all of a sudden it just goes, whoop,
oh, I
whoop,
like
whoop,
that.
whoop. Like it does some crazy ass shit. It's
That's
nuts.
awesome.
And it works. It 100% works.
That's what makes the jackhammer so good. One of the many things that makes the jackhammer so good and worth its money, in my opinion, is depending on how you fish and your setup, that thing will hunt. And that's really what that one that you have does so well.
Yeah.
Is that thing is erratic. It's all over the place. It hunts.
Yeah.
And that's killer. Especially if you get the right trailer on it. Like it's a deadly
And
combo.
that trailer I use, it just on the money. I don't even know I don't remember what it is.
I wish I could remember.
I would tell you guys because it just works. I think it's KVD. Is it KVD?
I don't remember if it's
Something
striking or not.
Speed minnow or something. I don't remember.
Look it up. We'll go back to the chat. Stephen Williams said off topic with buzzbaits, and Kyle said it great. So Stephen Williams said off topic with buzzbaits, buzzbaits or buzz toads. Slaunch Beach Crew, perfect. Buzzbaits, buzz toads for pads, buzzbaits for docks. Absolutely agree. Anywhere I can get like good or hard structure where I know I'm not going to get hung up by like the slightest bit of vegetation, I'm going buzzbait. Anything else where that blade's going to get possibly fouled up, I'm going buzz toad. And I will have both on the ready. Actually, depending on what body of water we go to, I'll have both tied on at the same time. One rod isn't really ideal for the buzzbait, but it's good enough, so I make it work.
You need another one?
Eventually. Still need you. Z-Man Eye Strike. Jason's got you.
Yeah, that's the one.
Thank you.
They're freaking amazing. Make me a trailer, Jason. The original to special. Do it. Make
Do
me
it
a
now.
trailer.
Go to the shop and stop pouring.
Hey, Kyle. Glad
Right
you could
now.
join us, buddy. All right, so for me, if we're talking dead of summer, my go-tos, honestly, is not a jig first. Texas rig. Because most of the places I fish around here, there's too much vegetation that I can't confidently make a jig do what I want it to do.
Yeah, it's in the new. It's this swim bait that's $1,500.
Oh, it's actually got like horse leather on it.
Yeah.
Horse hide or whatever.
Yeah, I saw someone on Swim Bait Universe post
There's a
about it.
person that came up with looking at minnow swim bait. It's like, oh my god.
Minnow swim bait? Did you mean the $1,200 swim
Yeah.
bait?
What is it? 18 inches? It's the size of
It's
someone's
16 inches, I
Yeah,
think.
16.
And it's over a pound. It's like 20 ounces or something like that. It's stupid.
Nope.
Anyway, so when dead of summer largemouth, Texas rig's my number one, and I keep it super simple. I used to do just an extra wide gap hook. Now I actually get proper flipping hooks. Big difference. Makes baits last a little bit longer. I have 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0 depending on what kind of plastic I'm throwing. More often than not, 4/0 with a 3/8 ounce weight. Perfect. I don't usually need more than that. If I'm fishing a little bit deeper and it's kind of thicker matted at the top and I want to make sure it actually gets through that to the bottom, I'll go to a 1/2 ounce. Those two, 3/8 ounce and 1/2 ounce, is really all you need for the vast majority of what New Hampshire has to offer. When you get into like the actual grass mats on Champlain, a 2 ounce is not enough, depending on exactly what he can attest to it. He got to probably witness it. Literally 30 to 50 feet. I would say my average is about 30 feet. With a 2 ounce weight, straight up, splat, and still wouldn't make through. With a 2 ounce tungsten weight. So thinner profile, heaviest weight you can get. But if you could get it only like 10 feet up, and you could find just almost, they're not pockets, but you can see where the vegetation was a little bit thinner, and you can kind of punch through those little pockets, and that worked. But typically for the rest of New England, 3/8 ounce to 1/2 ounce Texas rig baits, I keep it super simple. Cross. That's it. You can do a bunch of different stuff. You can do like brush hog style baits. What is the one from Zoom that's been around forever? It's not brush hog. That's a Yamamoto. No, it is brush hog. The Zoom brush hogs. Green. I might have it in here. I'll go find it in a second. I'm pretty sure I have a case of those baits out here.
What are you talking about? Sorry, I was.
Yeah, the Zoom brush hogs. Isn't that the name of it? I'm pretty sure it is. Things like that. Like anything, whether it be big and bulky profile, it's got multiple appendages, or striking rage craw. Like that is my absolute go-to. It works killer almost everywhere you go. Most of my baits or bites I like to get, I find that I do better when I have a craw profile with legs that have a ton of action. Like the Beast Coast Marauder is kind of like that intermediate range where it's got action, but it's not like a crazy amount of action. Striking Rage Craw has got some of the most violent action from a Rage Craws that I have.
Yeah.
That with a 3/8 ounce weight, we got that slower rate. as it's coming down, just fucking violent action the whole way down. Really easy to get picked up on.
Any appendage that has like a almost, so you know how like a paddle tail has, it's just flat straight out. Any appendage that has that something flat coming off of it will catch water, and that will make it flutter. Or the whatchamacallit. Jason, by the way,
Steven, can you private message me that, please? Thank you.
the whatchamacallit, that thing, I think, pretty sure I caught a 5 on that earlier this year.
What?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, was that at the fun in which we're going to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was on that?
I'm 90% sure it was.
That's his too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got some of
sure.
those too, because Gordy carries them over at county.
Yeah.
Yep. That's where you got yours.
Yeah. It was. Yep. Yeah, that thing
Gordy's getting
works.
plugged
I actually
tonight.
think, was it on?
I think it was on that.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that was sweet.
He remembered.
That thing's
Even
awesome.
if you didn't, he did. He remembered. Yeah, dude, like anything like that. It's weird because Dog Days of Summer, I feel like they like more action in the bait versus profile, bulk. That's just me. I know plenty of other guys, specifically someone in the chat, that does better on a bulky profile, and that's the extent of what I'll say for what he throws. I don't want to give any of his juice away.
I know exactly who and what you're talking about.
Right, and it works, and especially in a different presentation. For me personally, I've got more confidence. That's key in everything you do. More confidence in a much more simpler, streamlined, I guess, profile. Like slimmer. I'm letting the legs do the work for me. Lighter weight, so I give 3/8 ounce really isn't that light, especially half ounce. But it's just enough that I can slip through a couple of lily pads, and the weight's going to come way down past the bait. It's going to lead it quite a bit, and then you can let the whole way down. And then, the weight's going to hit, and then it's really going to kind of take its time, that last, foot or two that it's trailing behind. And you just keep working over and over again.
Yeah.
So, for me, like, that's, when we were talking, Dead of Summer, Dog Days of Summer, like, Texas Rig, Rage Craw, something like that, it just doesn't get any better for that. If I'm fishing spots where I know I can get away with the jig, like an Arky head style, it's like a do-all, like jack of all trades kind of jig where it will stand like a little bit. It's not as good as a swim jig or a grass jig in the way it slips through cover, but it's pretty damn good. It can climb through rocks pretty well, like, better than a football, but not quite as good as the ball head. Like it's a universal jig, and I'll throw that in a 3/8 ounce. Well, Beast Coast makes 5/16 and 7/16, so close enough. Call it 3/8 and half ounce. More often than not, I do better with the lighter weights. It gives the fish a little bit of a chance to see it on the way down, and I can still like yo-yo it. I've had a couple really good days where I'm stroking it hard.
Sorry.
Really yo-yo it.
I'm
They
paying
actually,
attention to
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
they do.
Pretty
I
good
think that's
at
what a lot of you guys call it. Yeah, you stroke the jig.
Yeah.
And you snap it, right? And you're getting that thing to jump 5 or 6 feet off the bottom, and then that nice slow fall in the 3/8 ounce weight, it works killer. If you go to a tin bismuth, we talked about this with Sharon, the Lunker Man, on one of our recent streams. You go to a tin bismuth on a football head on a 3/8 ounce, it will fall even that much slower because tin bismuth is got like almost twice the surface area for 3/8 ounce compared to tungsten. So same weight, bigger surface area, slower fall rate. Things to consider. So like those are my go-to. Texas Rig is number one, absolutely. Second behind that is a jig. I like bottom contact better than anything. Third is a fluke and or a Senko. I will use them interchangeably depending on what I have. I prefer a fluke more often than a Senko because with that tapered action in the back, I can't tell you how many fish I've caught bombing up into the weeds, then to come down a little bit and just
We had that day
jerkbait style. Yep.
up on the bridge place.
Yep. And just
That day was fun.
wait a second, twitch. And you almost want to like slackline it when you're hitting it, right? You don't want any tension when you're doing that because then it's not going to dart crazy and slash, and that's what I like. More often than not, too, I just get bitten the damn thing falling like you're fishing a Senko. But I like the profile and the action of a fluke because I can do both. I'll let it fall, I'll pick it up, I'll let it fall, and then I'll, kick it all the way back, kick it a couple times again, pick it up, let it fall. Like I can do both. Better with a fluke than I can a Senko,
Right.
but you get the benefit of what a Senko does too. And then Wacky Rig Senko. Or Nico rig it. Throw a little nail weight in the end, and if you want a little bit faster fall rate, get it down. Working like the outside, you get those like super thin stalks on the lily pads, and they're like the $50 size lily pads.
Oh yeah.
But you get those in like 8 feet of water, right in that outside wall. Whack your Senko right in the edge of it, and whole way down in front of that. We've got a couple spots where we get that stuff in like 12 feet of water. You got a 12-foot wall on like the edge, some really thick stuff. You can throw a giant Senko and let it fall the whole way down.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna knock it. It works.
That's how Canopy is. Canopy's got vegetation that comes up like 18 foot off the bottom. It's insane.
Jesus.
Yeah. Especially like if there's not a lot of water going into it. It's insane.
Oops, sorry, Chad. I just cleared your text. Justin, I'm gonna get to you next first, but Chad had a question. Okay, so how about speed of fall with those baits? What about tubes and size, presentation? So speed of fall, that's something I just kind of really covered.
Yeah.
There's two lines of thoughts that I've had with this for years. You can go really, really heavy, really, really light. Reaction or presentation, that's not accurate, but that's the way I'm going to kind of present it to you for the time being. Really lightweight gives them time to see it, right? You throw a big bulky thing, a 6-inch Senko, it's hard to miss. And it's light. It takes forever to fall. So, you can see that thing, especially in like good water clarity, from a long way off. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is that?
What is that? What is
when
that?
you cast it, I'm like, what the fuck are you casting?
You get to watch it forever. Think about it.
Hey, go check that out.
Go check it out. Check it out.
Get a bigger mouth.
You know, and they've got a long time to see this huge thing, and it gives it, and that's good and bad, because depending upon what mood they're in, that gives enough time to really think about, yeah, okay, that looks good, I'm gonna get it, or something about that doesn't look right, it's not natural, so no, I'm going back this way. Versus, and then on the other side of that train of thought, something really heavy. Bass is over here, something drops. Right? You know, it's like a cat when you throw something at it, it doesn't know what to do except just turn and immediately attack. Like, reaction, right?
Yeah.
Everybody talks about that reactionary strike, that reactionary bite. And that's kind of the benefit of going with a heavier weight. If you don't get them on the initial fall, maybe they kind of see it like, I'm looking over here and it's off at my 2 o'clock. So it's definitely in the peripheral. And all of a sudden something's, whoa. Okay, I definitely saw something,
Like a cat.
and you got its attention, right? And then that's where yo-yo and your jig comes in, right? You snap it up. And it's like, holy shit! And they come in and they hit it because that's just what they do. That's what bass typically do. They're predatory fish. They attack.
They're assholes.
Yeah, that. So
They're water cats.
Why do I do this?
that's typically why I have 2 different things tied on. Like if I know I'm getting into a good T-rig bite, and we just had this the other day, I had 2 tied on. I had a 3/8 ounce, I had a 1/2 ounce. 3/8 ounce was just doing just fine, so that's all I fished the rest of the day. If I'm in a spot where I know I can do T-rig and jig, I've got a 3/8 ounce T-rig and I've got a 1/2 ounce jig. So I've got both ends of the spectrum covered. I got something light, gets their attention on the fall, and I've got something heavy that I can work and get more reactionary bite. And now this ties into Justin Woodell's question. When do you peg your weight? Never.
Never.
I used to always, and I stopped because I was getting less bites. The benefit to pegging your weight.
Well, you can peg your weight. You don't have to peg your weight at the bait. You can peg your weight up
True.
further. You can have
Like a bobber stop.
like a bobber stop, or you could legitimately peg your weight 2 feet above it. So when you come through that grass, you can see it's almost like a drop shot. It stops, sits there for a second, and then it will come down.
Or kind of, yeah, I guess you could peg up a couple feet and it's going to be the best of both worlds. It's going to fall fast
Right.
and then slow.
But then it'll still be right in there.
Yes.
The reason I started pegging my weight was fishing thicker vegetation. I wanted
That's
to
another
guarantee
idea.
that it was going to get through, because that's the thing that when we were up on Champlain, we were fishing these crazy thick grass mats, right? The weight would sometimes fall through, and I could feel the difference between just my weight falling through and my bait coming with it. And my bait would be stuck, 5-6 feet up above it at the top of these mats, so obviously it doesn't do any good, right?
I'm still
you-
blown away by that.
And you want to peg it, but depending on what the fish want, if it's too heavy and your bait's falling too fast, yeah, you got through the vegetation, but now it's falling too fast, they're not going to want to eat the damn thing.
Right.
So, versus if I just change my accuracy or my the entry point of where I'm pitching to, I can get away with it not being pegged, still get down in there, but get the benefit of my weight goes down and then my bait trails behind it. So I get the best of both worlds. It takes a little bit more work. I can't always guarantee I'm going to get into it, but I can play with my weight a little bit, and I know I'm going to eventually find that right combo between what style bait I'm throwing, what size hook, what size weight, and the whole 9 yards. And it's eventually I'm going to get it through. And it could just be the angle that I need to pitch it, depending on what kind of vegetation it is. Really thick lily pads. Maybe find the angle and kind of come in at an angle. Versus really thick mats. You just got to kind of find a little bit lighter density in the opening on the top to kind of, sneak it through in the little windows here and there. But I want that advantage of weight coming down and bait trailing behind it. Because you've got the best of both worlds. Then you can, when you go to pick it up, bait's going to catch up to weight. It looks like it's chasing, bait's chasing weight. So it looks like bait fish chasing bait. And I don't know. I don't peg it. I do better not pegging it than I do pegging it.
So you're not a pegger.
I'm not a pegger.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not.
I just had to look at you.
What the hell?
You guys need to look.
Frank's got a good point. You peg his anytime he's fishing docks. But in that case, if I'm fishing docks, I'm gonna throw a jig.
Right.
But I'll change up what style jig I'm throwing, because sometimes they don't want, a full traditional jig, like full big boy skirt on it, right? Man, go a little finesse. But I like still skipping that versus a T-rig. It's probably more practice I just need to have with it anyway to be able to confidently skip a T-rig with it pegged. But in that case, if I'm skipping, I'd rather just have a skirted presentation. Or just a Senko for that matter.
Braid or floral? Straight braid.
Sorry, I burped. Thanks.
Ew, gross.
Interesting, Justin. If you don't peg, you get hung up too much.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Think of it, because you're coming up over. You got your bait coming over one side of a branch. You got your weight coming over the other.
Yep.
Stuck. Shit.
True. Braid or floral for flipping? Oh yeah. Well, I've done both. It depends.
I say you meant for punching. My bad.
For flipping?
I mean, I run. I mean, this weekend. The other day, Monday.
It totally depends. It depends on what they're doing. Like,
I'll do because I love floral. But
I do too, because that you've got what's the word I'm looking for? You've got flexibility in your hook set. You kind of can't set the hook too hard before. It's got give.
Yeah.
It's not that much, but there's enough that yes, you still can't obviously overdo it, but that window of too damn much is a lot smaller versus braid, which is a lot broader. Braid's on the opposite end of the spectrum of just right is in here versus too much is like this, and it's the inverse of that for floral. It depends on what I'm doing. If we're fishing hard structure, I'm doing floral all day long for the abrasion resistance more than anything. But we found Monday had to be braid because they were biting on the damn fall.
it was and the bite was very, very soft.
We were literally fishing identically. We were making the same casts in the same areas, same weight, same hook, same bait. Literally everything was the same, except I had braid and he had fluoro. And he had 15-pound fluoro, so it's not like it was light-duty stuff, and it was a Brasix, which is stout line.
So finally the point's proven. How many times have I fished? Because my jig rod, or my T-rig that I was pitching was on straight 17-pound Brasix.
Yep.
And you were fishing braid.
Yep.
We were fishing the same.
It's so much more sensitive with just straight braid.
No, I totally agree, but that was the biggest thing that we said was we were fishing and he was just whacking. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I couldn't, and I was like, dude, the only thing that's different is that I have floor, you have braid.
Yeah, because you can feel it. You literally feel a fucking fly farting on
it. And then, it's the whole way down. Especially when they're biting it on the way down, you really need braid for that. So it's if I'm grass, I'm braid. Anything else, I'm straight fluoro, and I'm gonna bounce around. But 15 to 20 pound fluoro if I'm doing that. I have my jig rod is straight 15-pound fluoro, which I'm honestly starting to debate if I want to switch to braid now.
I don't want to hear bitch if you backlash.
Yeah,
No.
but on that jig
So-
rod, like I've got it so dialed in.
Listen, I have the greatest backlash story ever about the mat.
Oh,
All right. So here we are trying to punch this mat, and this was just, I don't know what came over me. I blacked out when I thought of this idea. Apparently, we have 2-ounce tungsten. We're casting 30 to 40 feet in the air, and they're not going through. I reel up, and I'm like, I'm gonna just kind of reef this thing right through it, and I'll thumb the spool right.
did you? It was like a
No.
freaking MLB pitcher, like fastball, right down the
I
middle.
was like,
He told me. And
George,
he told me,
it was-
he's like, I was like,
it just literally went.
I'm like, did he just go, honk? He's like, oh yeah.
I
oh,
thumbed it,
no.
dude. My thumb was just covered in line, and I was like,
You can't do that.
I looked at him. I was like, "Do you want to know what I just did?" And he goes, "Did you just cast that right at that?" I was like, "As hard as I could." I don't know what I was thinking. I just was so pissed that I couldn't get through it. I was like temper tantrum of a kid. And I was like, "I'll show you, Dad."
It was like a popcorn kernel, just his line.
Oh,
I sat there. I'm picking at it, and he's like, "Do you want the pick?" And I was like, "Dude."
It's beyond that.
I reeled it up. I clipped my line, pulled it off, pulled another reel out of my bag,
It's bad.
sent it.
jeez.
Oh my god, it's actually still in my truck now. I'm thinking about it. I don't
Use a
know.
lighter.
Yep,
Put a
just burn it all
lighter to
out.
Oh my god, I can't believe I did it.
Yeah.
It was hilarious though. DJ got a good kick out of it. Alex was like, "What are you thinking?" I clearly wasn't. I clearly wasn't. Made everyone happy. I was so
It's funny.
out of my mind.
That's terrible.
It was
Bad
terrible.
day, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Doug said, my nephew's a top bass fisherman in California. He now has a scholarship to college bass team. Never knew this thing. Dude, that's awesome.
That's
That
sweet.
is-
Congrats to your nephew.
Seriously.
I'm in New Hampshire and they pushed me to your videos. We are Southern New Hampshire. Hey, dude, so are we. Thanks for joining in and watching. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
For real.
Who pushed you to the videos? Your nephew? That's cool, though. I want to know,
More information.
was he like in New England? Now he's going over there? Because that's awesome.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I feel like I just talked to someone recently that said that their nephew got a scholarship. I could be going crazy.
Yep, nice. That's awesome, Doug. Steven. Braid is more sensitive on a tight line, but fluoro is more sensitive on a slack line.
I don't believe
I don't agree with that.
I do not.
No, they follow you. Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell them I said thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
Because that's a thing I notice often when we're doing a lot of Texas rigging. Dead slack line. I mean, drop shot. Like literally any of my finesse rods is all braid to fluoro leader. And then I've got a couple of T-rig setups that are braid to fluoro leader. And then in this case, this past Monday, it was just straight braid. And like I knew it was, I mean, like dead slack, right? Like bombed out, hit, and I'm like pulling line out so I can make sure it's falling straight down a dead slack line. And I'm like, haven't even engaged my reel yet, and I feel tink. I'm like, I felt that through everything. Yep, there's a fish. Like I don't know, man. That's that zero stretch or near zero stretch. I don't think it's 0% stretch on braid. It might be. It's I think it's actually like a percentage point. You get the point.
It is.
That helps the sensitivity so much. And then double that with an incredibly sensitive rod built by Wicked Custom Rods. And loose.
Jason, thank you. I know you said
thank-
you're out,
thank
so
you,
we
Jason.
appreciate it, but he said he's out. So
Nice.
I had to cut you off on that one.
No, it's good. Thank you very much, Jason. Greatly appreciate the donation. And for anybody else watching, donations, always a good thing. You don't have to do it directly in the chat. If you go in the video description, Venmo and PayPal are in there as well. I think right now Jason puts us at $155 in recent donations that we're putting towards a new camera so we can replace this junky webcam that I have for the streams and get some actual 4K, like better quality videos for these streams, which would be awesome
For the pegging.
for the pegging. And for the next thing is some more tools that make streaming easier. So like when people actually do like donations and stuff, I can hit a little button and a little nice animation. Thank you very much. Will come up. I want to make this a little bit more professional. So we're getting there, and the donations help greatly. So thank you all very much. Greatly appreciate it. Jason, especially you. Good luck this weekend, man. Have a fun one. Fish hard. Hopefully you get a giant. Hope
Catch
it's
a
fine, large.
friggin' giant, would ya?
Jane.
Seriously, and then come buy a rod.
Jack. G Loomis is the best.
Yeah, I
I'll
love my
kill you.
G Loomis rod. I do.
I'll
My
snap
G Loomis
all
is my
three of
jig
your
rod right now. but it broke in, and I hate it.
Yeah. Mark knows. Mark's been talking to me enough.
Mark knows.
Mark
So
knows.
it depends. Like if you're talking straight, like 100% manufactured, like easy to find anywhere rods,
It's a good,
Yes.
it's very good.
very good rod.
I would
think
still
I'm
say
spoiled.
Daiwa is better.
I think I'm spoiled though.
Yeah.
I think I'm spoiled.
You're spoiled?
But
Unbreakable more expensive than anything else. You are wrong, Steven. Unbreakable, nothing. Get out of here.
No,
The only thing that's unbreakable is an ugly stick.
I haven't.
I would honestly
You're not
put-
wrong.
I
You
would
are not
put Sean to
wrong.
the test on breaking a rod. Between him and TJ, they're both very good at it.
I broke like 60.
I don't know how DJ breaks his rod so easily. Like
They just kapop.
oh no.
Oh no!
Sucks.
Wait, let me back up. Mark asked, how long with floor leader do you run 15 pound? Doesn't matter what pound test it is. I run. They say
18
fingertip to
foot.
fingertip is the same as you are tall. I'm 6'2", so I will pull out twice and then like another 3 feet. So I do about 15 feet on average, somewhere right around there, give or take a couple feet.
Same.
Um,
I'm about 15 to 18. It depends on what kind of day I'm going for too. If I know I'm going to be utilizing that rod a lot, I might throw on a little extra in the morning, or if I'm prepping for the day before,
If
put that extra couple feet on. That way I have some more room to tie.
if I'm fishing, and I learned this from a pro, I forget what video I was watching. It was last year before we went to the St. Lawrence, but we knew we were gonna have title on spy bait and Okashira.
That was the
And-
only bait. I was going to talk about that bait when we were.
So, the for something like that, for moving bait, finesse presentation, really light duty line, I'll go like 30 feet on my leader because I don't want them to see anything but that teeny tiny little bait swimming through the water. I don't even want them to see the damn leader knot
And
anywhere
zebra
near them,
mussels.
and that too. You
You
know, a
gotta
lot more to
retie
work
about 100
with.
times every
Right.
hour.
Yeah, actually, no, you're right. When we were fishing St. Lawrence River in Lake Ontario, zebra mussels are a real pain in the ass. We were tying our leaders,
30
I think the-
feet, 20, 30 feet.
20 to 30 feet, because you have to retie so often. Like,
Every
I
third,
think we
fourth,
retied
fifth,
our
yeah.
entire leader on average 3 times a day when we were up on Lake Ontario.
Yeah, probably.
That's how many zebra mussels you bump into up there. It's insane. And that shit's like razor blades.
It really is. It's terrible.
But yes, to Mark's point, I do use NFC blanks now on. Well, I got a couple of MHX blanks.
Yep.
But my main jig rod was the first custom rod one I ever had built, which was by Dragon Custom Tackle first. That's a North Fork Composites X-ray blank. I now have a drop shot rod and my ultra finesse spinning rod that are
Both.
X-ray blanks. I've got a swim bait rod coming. That's an X-ray blank.
So does Andrew.
Dude, it's
Andrew has another drop
ridiculous.
shot on an NFC.
I need a jig rod.
What was that?
You
His
need a
drop
jig
shot?
rod? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, his drop shot.
Dude, we gotta build him a jig rod just like mine. That's next on the list. Like a 7.2 medium heavy fast.
I want 7.3.
That'll make it. In that X-ray,
They don't.
You know?
you have to get exactly what mine is.
Yeah.
7.2 medium heavy fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chad's blowing us
Pretty
up.
stiff.
We are
For a
fighting.
medium heavy?
Daiwa holds
So-
0 candles to high-end Loomis.
So I have. Wait, what happened?
Chad's throwing.
Chad's saying that Daiwa holds 0 candles to high-end Loomis. I don't know, man. I've held
So my
high-end
Loomis-
Loomis and high-end Daiwa. They're both like friggin' phenomenal.
My Loomis, I was extremely happy with when I first got. It worked the exact way I wanted it to. Now, after using it for a year, I am very disappointed with it because it didn't last. It broke in. Now it feels like a medium, if not less.
The one I wrapped?
Yes.
No way, really?
Yeah. I was telling him.
Yeah, he's been talking about it all year.
Is it a
It like
UHX?
softened up the EHX.
It literally feels like it's softened up. It's like it feels like a medium now. Like I can't. I don't have the confidence setting the hook on a jig bite now.
Wow.
Yeah, but that thing would
Bad.
make a mint soft plastic.
Yeah,
rod.
which I'm gonna convert it to. It's my soft plastic rod, my Texas rig rod.
Yeah.
But I can't set the hook on that thinking that I'm not gonna lose the fish.
That's.
'Cause I feel like I can't keep the tension on.
Alright.
I need a heavier rod.
Yeah, for a jig hook, like a stout, like a thicker gauge.
Right.
Yeah,
Like any Beast Coast.
yeah. That's what I love about his jigs, though.
Right.
That's a stout hook.
Like you know our hook sets.
yeah,
I can't.
1, 2
Like,
steps.
like
Swing.
when I set the hook, I am literally reeling down to that fish, and I'm trying to rip him out of whatever cover he's in.
But
Oh
do you
my
jump? Because that's my
Pretty much.
my signature move.
But what I'm doing,
I jump for some
I want
reason.
I want that rod to stop right around here.
Yeah, no,
It's stopping back here,
Yeah.
that's not
and
good.
I don't like it. I hate
Yeah,
it.
it's not good.
Toby McLaren asks, have you fished Umbagog? Catch any pike? Any tips for the lake in general? I have a 5-day fishing trip starting next Wednesday.
Jeez.
No. I'm very sorry, Toby.
But we are doing this.
I don't even know who you could reach out to that would be willing to give you info on that place.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I
just
feel like everyone just shuts up about that place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
be open-minded. It's not. It's actually it is pretty big, but at the same time, like I don't know. It's
Fish is small. That's what
yeah.
I've heard.
Just be open-minded. If you want to go for largemouth, go up into the river. Otherwise, stay in the main lake for smallmouth. I think it's kind of more stained water in there. You're gonna do fine. It's one of the, I think that's a place that, based on what I hear for feedback, you kind of can't go wrong with how you fish it or where you fish it. There's just quality fish throughout the whole thing. The giants are rare, but they are in there. But it's more of like tons and tons of 2s and 3s. I could be entirely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where my memory is going with that. John asked, you tying the FG knot for that leader? No.
I do.
He does.
Him.
The only problem with the FG knot is it doesn't hold up to the wind test, in my opinion. I want to see somebody consistently and quickly tie an FG knot in 30-mile-an-hour winds and 4-foot rollers out in the middle of the lake. Good luck. I tied an Alberto knot because I could be half in the bag on 40-mile-an-hour winds in pouring rain, and I will still always tie a perfect Alberto knot. I never break at the knot, at my leader knot. I used to tie double uni to uni, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Almost every fucking time I broke that thing off is at the leader knot.
Yeah.
Ever since I switched to an Alberto knot, and that was only last fall, I've had one. I know exactly where it was. It was on the damn river last year, late in the year. And I even commented to you saying, holy shit, I finally broke this knot at the friggin' leader knot. One time. And literally everything I tie is an Alberto knot. I've got 6 spinning rods that all have leaders, and 3 casting rods that I throw leaders on. Alberto knot. I've broken once at the knot. Anywhere from 8, 10, 12, 15, and 20-pound line.
I think it's hilarious that my niece is still on.
That's awesome.
She is hanging in. Trooper.
Fish, like, oh, Jesus Christ. Fished once, I almost fell in the pond because the fish was so big.
True
That's
story.
awesome.
I don't know who Sir Altitude is, but I definitely went to school for Timberland and played football for Timberland.
Really?
Yeah.
She probably knows you.
I don't fucking know. I don't. Florida sucks. You know it, and I'll say it. No.
I think you gotta go whack your pecker. I mean, pecker.
It's Packer, whack Packer.
I'm curious,
yeah.
Are you trolling or do you legitimately think Floro sucks? Because if you think Floro sucks,
I don't know what you use to make anything better than Florida.
Andrew's a hardcore Florida guy.
I will prove you wrong any day of the week. Come fish with me, I'll prove you wrong.
if you've
I
got
don't
a
know.
problem with Floro, then you got a problem with me, and I suggest you let that marinate. I had to think real hard about what the quote was.
I know. I was waiting for it. I let you do it. I was gonna say Canadian gooses.
Jesus Christ. That's why I appreciate you.
Yeah,
That's what I appreciate about you. Why don't you take about 10-20% off over there, Squirty Dan?
Florida's annoying.
It's because the memory on spinning reels, don't do it.
No, don't.
I
Do not do that. So if that's what the debate is here, I will 1000% agree.
Okay, if you're fully spooled on a spinning rod with fluoro,
First off, you were seriously fucking up. Buddy.
yes,
Yeah.
that's bad. Do
Doesn't
not
matter the size either. Which is a nightmare.
always run braid to fluoro
Yeah.
on a spinner.
Yep.
Or straight.
I'm gonna go to the next level on that. For years, my buddy Travis, he's a licensed New Hampshire fishing guide here in New Hampshire, him and his dad, but especially Travis, tried to convince me for years, dude, you need to be throwing braid to a leader on your spinning rods. And I was way too cheap to do it. And I couldn't justify it. I'm like, how can I go spend $15 on a spool line that in my head at the time I thought I'd replace every year, and then another $15 on at the time I was fishing crappie P line. Like, you want me to spend $30 on 2 spools of line for 1 rod? That's insanity. No. Braid will last you 2 to 3 years before you even have to think about replacing it.
Easy.
Because when you go to cut it back, when you retie your leader, you cut about that much off. You spool that bitch right to the top, and you lose that much every time you retie your leader. If you're really anal like me, and you retie it literally every time you go fishing, that still will last you a really long time. Because I retie my stuff so often, I have to re-spool my ride reels pretty much every year. It's a little more than that. It's almost a year and a half in between them. So depending on, you know, like, if I do it in April, I gotta do it kind of like late summer, early fall. I gotta re-spool a line again. Especially on like a 2000 series reel where it's a lot smaller. On my 4000 series and my 3000 series, I won't have to do it for a little while. The number of bites that you're missing out on is stupid. And I know that because I got my ass kicked about a dozen times before I finally smartened up and made the switch, and I could not believe how many more fish I was feeling and actually catching. No line memory with braid. That in and of itself is worth every freaking penny.
Yep.
The only thing you have to worry about with braid is wind knots.
Right.
When you cast and you flip your bail back over, you best make sure that line is doing what it's supposed to do and it's not over the top of the reel, or you're gonna have a really, really, really bad day about 5 casts later. That is the only caveat. It doesn't matter what braid I've had. I cast, I look down, I flip, and I nestle my line. Because when I don't, I get a wind knot. Without fail.
It's kind of just like Havoc. You flip it over and you make sure that thing is in the gut.
Yep. And that's it. And then, like, you don't have to worry about it. You go, like, I go overkill now because I want to take everything that I do at next level. By God, you don't have to. You can go with any of the cheap Power Pro that you find. Anywhere. Your local tackle shop, Walmart, doesn't matter.
I like it for picking out backlash. It's nice.
It is very
Power
nice.
Pro is good.
It's a great starting
It's
point.
really good.
10 to 15 pound. If you're going all spinning setup, you do not need to go heavier than that. I made that mistake thinking, oh, well, 30 pound braid is still only the same as like 12 pound fluoro, so I'll just go 30 pound. Way overkill. Go as light as you can. In the case, like 15 pound has you covered. Depending on if you want to go largemouth and you go 15 to 15, awesome, you can do that. I don't need to anymore because all my spinning setup, I go 12 pound or 10 pound on my braid, and I get maximum casting distance. It's the thinnest you can get. It cuts through the water column really nicely, the whole 9 yards. And then for fluoro, you're only tying a leader. Just find something you're happy with. I personally don't like P-line. Cigar Red Label is awesome. That stuff's cheap. You can find it anywhere. It's stout. It's got
Relatively cheap.
it's like $15 for a 200-yard spool.
Yeah.
Which is still really good. Like that, if you get yourself a spool of 15-pound Power Pro and 10-pound Red Label, probably $25.
Yeah, you're in it for about 25 bucks. Yep.
And that will last you like 2 years.
I got a question for Captain Peckerwacker, whatever. Whack Packer.
Whack Packer.
What weight?
Don't mess up.
What weight fluoro are you tying on? Because if you're throwing on like 20 to 30 pound fluoro, that stuff is absolutely insanely horrible to throw.
Yes, it is.
We both did. We used to both throw 20 pound fluoro. And it just got to the point where you just kept backlashing. It's just a pain in the ass. Move down to 15. Even 17 would possibly be a little much for jig fishing. 15 pound though is just like the weight you want to use.
It's a prime. 15,
Right.
17. I use 17 pound abrasive.
Cast it a mile.
Yep.
You hardly ever backlash because it feels like 15 pound is made for bait casting jigs. Like,
Yep.
using
The only
a
thing I
jig
have
as a
20
bait
pound
casting.
straight fluoro on is one of my swim bait rods. One of them.
I have that on all my heavy-duty moving bait stuff.
If I'm fishing rocks, it breaks my line. So fluoro is made for fishing around rocks.
Yep. It has the best abrasion-resistant property out of all three. Out of mono, fluoro, and braid.
What brand?
Braid is dog shit,
What
by the
brand are
way.
you using?
Yeah, that's my question. So,
Wait, hang on.
Brand-
Doug, thank you very much for the donation, buddy. I greatly
Absolutely.
appreciate it. And those areas you fish, yeah. Keep an eye out for the blue skeeter.
I was gonna say, if he's in those areas,
Just keep an eye out. You'll see me.
Southern New
Yeah.
Hampshire to me is over where I am. That's Southern New Hampshire. That's north.
Southern New Hampshire is the widest part of the state.
I want to figure out what this
Northern
dude's issue is with Flora.
Right.
I want to
So,
figure this out.
what was the question you were about to ask him? What brand
What
he was
brand?
fishing?
Yeah,
or
what brand are you using?
Because I'll speak for P-line. I've had nothing but bad luck with P-line. It's literally the worst line I've ever.
Keyline.
Yep.
And what the hell is the name of the other stuff? There's P-line and
If you're about to say Vanish, that's
Yeah,
Vanish.
Dude,
Vanish.
listen,
Vanish.
that's all that I use for all of my spinning reels is Vanish.
I'll never use it.
I know some people that love it.
I
mean,
have had, dude, you've
so-
been with me.
Me and Kyle.
I can't
both-
fish.
And Sunlight
I didn't know you were
Sniper.
over there. That's awesome. You're not too far from us. Sunline Sniper is the other
Yeah.
really, really big one that a lot of people use.
That was what I was about to say.
Fucking hate it.
Really?
Dude, I had the worst luck with that. Remember we fished that tournament at Franklin Pierce? When I decided, I was like, I'm going to up my game. I'm going to go from the Seaguar Red Label. I'm going to go FC Sniper because that's what everybody said was great.
Oh, you kept
And it
breaking
went, dude, I broke off every goddamn bite that day
On what? On the Seaguar Sniper?
on the Sunline
Yeah.
Sniper.
Oh, Sunlight, that's what I meant. Yeah.
But like, I know guys that have been using it for years and swear by it.
Yeah.
And I don't disbelieve them that they love it.
I like, dude, Red
I feel
Label's
like I got
another
a bad
good one.
batch.
That's
I
my
really
guess.
think because me and Kyle both got it.
Yep, and you
Like,
both had the
within
same problem.
week. We had the same problem. Kept breaking off every freaking fish. Every
I,
fish.
I tried P-Line twice, and from very different stores, and it literally was terrible.
I tried the CXX that he was it Steven that said it? Hang on, let me back up a
Tree
little bit in the chat.
pounders.
Yeah, the CXX Ultra Clear. I tried that. It sucked. The blue block sucked. And there's the third one I tried. 3 strikes, you're out, dude. Like I can't do it. I don't trust anything from P-Line. I have had zero issues
loves
with
braid.
anything from my Seaguar.
Okay, well, I can see that.
P-Line fluoro.
Try doing a leader, a floral leader with your braid.
Woods and Weed said Vicious sucks too. I've only used their 8 and 10 pound for my leaders, and for leader material, I loved it. I was very happy with it. Especially for the cost, loved it. But then I like Seaguar, so I just started getting Seaguar everything. I use Seaguar Tatsu for my 8 pound leader, and then I use Abrazix for my 12 and 15 because I do my jig rod is straight 15 pound fluoro. And then I have a soft plastics rod that's 7 foot medium heavy. No, it's 7 foot medium. And that's straight 12 pound fluoro. And actually, then I use a Brazix, 10 pound Brazix for my cranking as well. No, I use that, sorry, for, hey. I use Red Label for that. So I use a little bit of everything, but like, my most important things, like my soft plastics and my jig stuff, I use straight Brazix because that's supposedly some of the best you can get for like bottom contact stuff. And then for my drop shot stuff, I want the best of the best because I'm relying on 16 feet of it at a time. So I got Tatsu, and it's not cheap. It's $45 for a 200-yard spool, but I've got all the confidence in the world with it. I rarely break off fish on that.
What do you throw on your jerkbait rod?
It depends on which rod I'm using because I have 2 rods, both 7 foot mediums, medium fast. I think they're both medium. Yeah, 7 foot medium fast. One is straight 10 pound Red Label, and the other one's straight 12 pound Red Label.
I'm a freaking nature.
I know
And
you
yours is straight 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't fish. Said you get a bad batch of sunlight. And I agree. When we were talking about that, we're out
It
fishing.
says he's 15 or 14, but I'm trying to figure this dude's problem out.
Frank said here in the Midwest around cables of lakes of the Ozarks run 15 to 20 pound all day. Yeah. Well, you got really stained water out there too, right? Like fluoro is supposed to be completely invisible, period. So it doesn't really matter what weight you throw. But if you're fishing around a lot of structure, especially you have the benefit of stained water anyway, I'd go as heavy as you could like that too.
Yeah. All right.
Who is this? Thomas. Sniper is great, but I like Red Label just as much and way cheaper. Yep.
That's literally all I use is Red Label, and I don't really ever break off fish.
John Mango said, that's crazy. P-Line Tactical has been unreal for me this year. 12 and 15 haven't broke 15 yet this year. I know people that have it and they like it. It's confidence thing, man. I had bad luck. I tried several batches over multiple times and I was not happy with it.
It says he uses Red Label.
Captain Whackbacker said, I use it 14 or 15, but my problem is that it breaks. Let's back it up. Oh, damn, Doug, was that a second donation? Dude, thank you very much, Doug. You're a champ.
Seriously.
Greatly appreciate
More money than I do.
it. Frank said, Frank Fielder, hang on. Back up.
It says, I know it says better for rocks, but I just
Wait, where'd you read that?
literally
He's-
all
he's
I
past
throw
you.
it. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to figure this dude's issue.
Yeah, I can't fish. Dude, Tatsu is worth all the hype. It's phenomenal, but leader material. Like, I could not justify spending that kind of money on it for, unless I was doing something like Zona, like where he gets crazy and he'll spool up straight 8-pound fluoro when he's cracking tubes. But that's not something that I really do around here anyway. Like, I don't know if it's just not something that's really done around here, or if it's not really that viable of a thing to do around here. Whatever.
You try it.
Like,
I don't know if it's really gonna. I don't think the water is clear enough here for that
yeah.
For cracking tubes.
with 8-pound line.
No, yeah, Tatsu, man, leader material, it's great. You know, like that's like, again, my premium thing. Like, actually, what I should be doing for next year, I should compare Tatsu to my Abrasics. Maybe my jig rod, I line with straight Tatsu. That's gonna hurt the wallet. But I guess it depends on how it stacks up for stretchability / abrasion resistance to Abrasics, because that's really what I care about. But I might go straight braid, so it doesn't really matter. But in that case, if my jig rod, I thought it'd be the same thing, whether it's leader or straight. Captain Whackpacker, I know, say it's better for rocks, but I disagree. So, my question. This is my favorite part about the stream, by the way. Like, when we start getting in the minutia of, like, what people do, and they start to ask questions, and we can dive deeper into it to kind of, like, whether we're learning something or we're helping them learn something. Like, this is my favorite part about the end of the streams. So, my question. How often are you checking your line and retying your knots? Whackpacker.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, any line, if you rub that shit against a rock, it's gonna get frayed.
Yep.
No matter what pound test it is, it could be 50-pound test. A fish grabs that and drags it around the backside of a rock, it's either gonna get frayed or it's gonna break off.
What?
Mad at you for making fun of your drinking seltzer. When did you do that?
I must have.
Dude, were you the one that put the comment on the video? Because that was the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Was
The one.
I'm not mad at you at all.
No, no worries, man. Please tell me you're the one that left that comment. It was the one on the stream with Chris and said, "Drinking seltzer? How do you fish when you have to sit to pee?"
Oh my god. You said that?
That's him?
I hope so.
Oh, that's
Unless there's another
great.
comment I missed.
Sit to pee. It's the same motion
That's
what I'm
like-
doing right now. Just going like that.
Hey.
That's like,
That's-
what was
I'm
it, like
prob-
5
I'm
or 6
sorry.
years ago? I know it's bad. I'm gonna crack you
It's
over again.
okay.
It was like 5 or 6 years ago. It was the Patriots were playing the Buffalo Bills. So Brady was obviously still with the Patriots at the time. And the camera's like, it's right before kickoff, and the TV camera's panning through the stands. And all of a sudden, a fan stands up with a giant sign that says Tom Brady sits when he pees.
Oh my god, that is incredible. Oh my god.
I'm not what you would consider a diehard sports fan in any way, shape, or form for any sports. I love
Sports suck.
Patriots. I love Tom Brady and everything. That shit's funny.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I can't stand sports. Can't do it anymore.
Football's the only thing I like watching. But fishing still takes priority. So I'll miss like
Quarterback comes up with him, reach at you nuts.
I was the center.
Give me your ball. That's you worried.
I was.
I'm waiting for the chat to catch up here. Captain Whackpacker, answer the question. How often are
I'm
you
just trying to
checking
figure
for
out
abrasion?
why your
Like,
line keeps breaking on you.
yeah, and, like, are you checking for abrasion? Like, are you nicks and everything in it?
So
like, the
I'm
whole nine
wondering,
yards?
think of the brownie factory, right?
Yep.
And the shale.
Yep.
If there's any shit like that where he's fishing, it doesn't matter. Well, I can't say it doesn't matter, but anything like that, you're gonna break off in brownies.
So, and that's a great
Sure.
point. My point I made earlier about I fished lighter line, like 10-pound braid. Even though I fish 10-pound braid on my all my finesse rods, my spinning rods, if I'm fishing a place like that, where he's talking about this spot we fish somewhere here in the Northeast, there's a lot of shale. Or Champlain, Lake Ontario, St. Lawrence River, where there's a lot of zebra mussels. I will throw 12-pound for my leader, even though I only have 10-pound braid. I know it doesn't make any sense because you're only as strong as your weakest link, but My fluoro is making contact with all of that crap, not my braid, because I will tie a 20-foot leader when fishing places like that.
Yep.
I have to retie all the time. I want to make sure that braid is nowhere
'Cause you know,
near
again,
the
about
bottom.
8 pounds at that point.
Yep.
If you're rubbing.
But just going from 10 to 12 gets me that extra 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch in the diameter of my line. I get that much extra security in my abrasion resistance in my line when I'm dragging over a bunch of rough stuff. So I'll go to that next step.
Same. All my spinning stuff, besides in the beginning of the year, I'll either be 10, so 10 to 10 or 10 to 12 for those exact reasons. And then in the early part of the year, I will throw 10 to 8.
Yep.
But then John actually asked, how often are you using high vis braid? Everything I have is high vis. It's all that chartreuse color, kind of like the color of my tumbler.
Doug had said, nephew said we should go to drop shot, but our ponds are shallow. Been using crankbait. The kid is the expert, but he fishes deep lakes in California. What do you say? Ooh. There is no such thing as too shallow or the wrong time of the year to fish a drop shot.
Do both of them.
There's a video that Brandon Polnick did recently that I saw the video title of it. And I don't know if it was on his channel or if it was on Wired to Fish, which is one of the best resources out there. Those guys are phenomenal in everything they put out. And that was specifically the topic, like why you should always fish a drop shot. And actually, it may have been the Bass University as well. I haven't watched it yet, but the video title enough was, he's absolutely right. Like, that is something you can fish pretty almost all year. I would say immediately after ice out is the only time of the year where I don't like it until the water gets up at least 40 degrees. Not to say it isn't viable below that. I just personally don't have the confidence in it and haven't really done anything with it that I could say it's worth a shot. Like 45 degrees in the spring, all the way up to ice in, absolutely. 80 feet of water, 6 inches of water. You can make a drop shot work. It was me. Yes! You're my hero.
I ain't mad at you.
You can, it's so versatile. You can play with your tag length, your weight, the bait, the way you hook your bait.
Yep.
That's all I'll say on that.
That's what I was trying to think of how do I say it, but you just nailed it.
That's like the all right, if there's one thing, and I don't think I've ever actually touched upon at this point. We are just as bad as all the pros in this, and we're not pros. Please do not think that I'm implying that. Let me get that disclaimer right out of the way.
That's going viral.
Probably. I'm
a pro.
we're just as bad as the pros in that we're trying to give you as much information as we can without giving you the majority of the information that we know, because we have put, between the three of us, literally decades of effort into finding out like all the juicy little information that helps make us successful in the water. So I'm not going to give all that up readily available. I'm going to give you the 10,000 foot overview on everything, and some things I'll even give you the 1,000 foot overview. Yeah. The rest is up to you. Yep. That's time on the water, and with that, that's experimentation. What you do. He's the best, and when it comes to experimentation, and I was the worst about it for years until watching him do things that I'm like, not like openly saying that's fucking dumbest shit I've ever seen, Andrew.
Well, you've said that
like, once or twice, but like the vast majority of times, just like. No, like I'm open, like I don't know, man. That just doesn't seem right. Like I don't know anybody that does that. Why would you do that? But shit works because that's the other. That's the other 90%. Maybe it's not that much. We're giving you the top 33%. The rest of it is up to you guys, and that's where that experimentation comes in. Everybody thinks of a drop shot as 3/8 ounce weight, like 1 foot tag, a 3-inch worm, 8-pound test, spinning rod, the whole 9 yards, right? No, that's just one of 1,000 different ways you can fish it. Experiment with things. Find a technique that you like, or just a way that you want to present your bait is the best way to think about it. And expand on that.
Be the bait.
Like that's the best advice I can give you guys. Drop shot is absolutely viable to it. What baits you can use, how you rig them and shit like that, man. There's so many different ways you can do it and make it work different ways at different times of the year. Think about what the fish are feeding on and how they're reacting to what they're seeing, and let that kind of dictate how you're going to experiment with what you're throwing.
Well put.
Yep. Thanks.
I don't even know how. Did we even finish up the largemouth summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We gave our favorite baits and the areas we like to target, and that's pretty much. It's kettle pond fishing, man. I mean,
It
you're
is.
talking like 10 feet or less in almost every instance. I don't even want to get into deep water largemouth because that's not something we typically do. If I'm going for largemouth, dude, I've got 30 ponds within 45 minutes of my house that are 10 feet of water or less. I'm gonna go hammer largemouth at some point somewhere. It doesn't matter. I don't need to go look any deeper than that for largemouth.
True.
And we got quality largemouth beyond that. I don't need to go looking 50 feet in Winnipesaukee. I know it's not that deep, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to go to Winnipesaukee and find these crazy deep grass piles somewhere offshore in the middle of friggin' nowhere.
Snipe them out beneath your buddy's boat in 40 feet of water.
So that's we stuck to the kettle ponds with largemouth, deep summer. But if there are any more questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah.
So
What was that, John?
John went back to high vis on moving baits. So yeah, anything. Literally, I always go high vis because I
Yeah,
like
we
to
should
be on
have
the sea. I like to see the line going, especially if it's something that's just below surface. That was a cough.
If it's really clear water clarity, I'll tie on a leader because I have high vis on all but one rod now. I don't like to for my casting rods.
Oh, don't worry about it.
He's just bopping me. Rona. It's not Rona.
I don't like the high vis for when if I'm fishing moving baits in clear water and I'm tying straight to it. I gotta have some sort of leader. If it's any sort of stay in water, it does not matter. I throw 50-pound high vis Daiwa J braid. Like, it's a friggin' highlighter. And it like a highlighter
really
rope that I'm
is.
throwing through it. I still get bit like crazy. So it doesn't matter. But clear water, it might not matter. I feel more confident throwing a floral leader in that case in super clear water, regardless of what color my braid is. So I don't know. That's my opinion. It's a confidence thing. Captain Whackpacker. Maybe my problem with fluoro is I use it early spring and the water's too cold. No.
No.
But hang on? Let me back up.
That was it.
No. You never answered the question. How often are you checking your line for nicks and frays in it? Like, how often do you retie it? Do you retie it before you go fishing every time? That's the big thing. That's something I don't think enough people do.
Anytime you
Especially
get
if
it
it's
stuck in a
bouncing
rock.
around in the bed of your truck or something. I don't know how you treat your rods, but I mean, I know that I personally keep mine in the bed of my truck. I have a pad, but they still bounce around and shit. If one guide hits the edge of your bed, you know what I mean?
Mine are back there with the windows and whatever shit's back there.
Perfect.
Everything. Doug said, nephew's on his way to pro and he recommends I watch you, so don't sell yourself short.
That was when you were talking about being
Thank
a
you.
pro. So there's a humbling comment for
Oh.
you.
Cool. I'll take it. Thank you very much, Doug.
Andrew,
Thomas said, I use fluoro ice fishing, so I don't think that's your problem, Backpacker. Yeah, I agree. Brett, why do I hate bladed jigs and have zero confidence in them? What am I doing wrong? Yeah.
I will.
What are you throwing for trailers? Where are you throwing it? Man, I
Yep.
need more information.
I would also agree
Listen
with
to Captain.
Yep.
In this case, I would say listen to jackhammer and just cover water. You're gonna all of a sudden the thing's gonna stop and you're gonna be like, what the hell did I hit? And then
Go work like a
gonna
flat that's
turn.
like anywhere between like 4 and 10 feet,
that's what I was just
and just roll that thing across the top of the grass.
Yep.
And you are going to get hammered.
We did another special. I think I've done 2 videos now. I think I did a bass fishing quick tips video.
We should
But I
do
don't think
more
I
of
really
those.
covered. I know.
yeah, with
do,
all the time that he has.
I said weed.
I know.
I know. I gotta figure out what I'm doing here moving forward. I know we did a live stream. Go back and look for it. You'll see in the thumbnail there's jackhammer. It's a black and blue jackhammer on there. I don't have anything time stamped, unfortunately. I never went back through all these streams and did that, so you can know like specifically where we talk about certain baits. But we did cover the jackhammer very thoroughly in those things. The biggest difference when fishing a bladed jig and why I think the jackhammer is worth that extra money, it starts vibrating way easier than anything else. Like
On the fall.
immediately, yeah, on the fall, immediately, however you want to phrase it, like that's what it does. It hunts better than anything else. Like, it's not just straight line vibrating. It will dart and go all over the place. Not crazy, but
Like it'll
like
go,
the cheap original
it'll go,
chatterbait.
and then it'll go, oh, oh,
Yep.
oh,
Versus the original chatterbait, just straight lines.
straight B lines.
And it vibrates at an extremely slow speed.
Yep.
So that's my favorite thing about fishing it. And I'll throw it on braid because with that zero stretch, I can get that jackhammer like with I'll get half a turn through on my first reel with a 6.3-to-1 ratio reel, and it starts vibrating. And I can crawl it on a 6.3-to-1, and I can still feel it go. So is it really like vibrating and hunting? No, but it's still knocking / vibrating.
Still moving water.
Yep, and that's good enough. That's all you need at that point. So in cold water, that thing is killer. But then if you burn it, that thing's all over the place. Nuts. It's not the only one that's good. There's a couple other ones that are out there that are really good. What's the one from Strike King? The Thunder Cricket. Yeah,
Yep.
I just got a text. Tell me. I'm not gonna tell him that, Chad. No,
But yeah, so the Thunder Cricket, I definitely throw both. The Thunder Cricket, I think, is a little less erratic. It's more of a vibration than a thump, in my opinion.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But that's great. That's a bait that's only, I think, $7 or $8. It's definitely a lot cheaper than the jackhammer, but
Yeah.
still produces fish. I like also the colors that they have available in it.
Yeah.
Nice colors.
I can't fish. I rip up some 6th Sense Divine Swim jigs and those Harmony blades and make my own vibrating jigs. I personally love it. Interesting. I like it.
There you go.
And then
I'm
John
in Salem, so you can totally just bring me one.
John said, I can't get bit on the chatterbait at all the last 2 months after wrecking them all pre-spawn. So confusing. I know it works great all year long. Reconsider the depth that you're fishing it at, and that's all I'll say.
Yep.
Reconsider the trailers you're throwing, the size of them, your cadence, and how you're retrieving it. So, things like that. I typically do better on a spinnerbait and a swing jig than I do a bladed jig in the dead of summer. Not to say that the bladed jig can't work, but for my specific preference for how I like to fish, bladed jig is not the first thing I go to. Although, honestly, I've had dog shit luck with the spinnerbait this year. So I haven't even bothered trying to tie one on lately. I've been throwing the bladed jig way more because it's the only thing I seem to get bit on. But even that I'm not getting bit on right now too. Which
Right.
makes sense because I usually don't this time of year.
Yeah, it's been what, a month since we had a good day with that.
I usually get bit on. I throw bladed jigs right before sunset.
Yeah.
As soon as the sun starts to go down behind the trees, pull that thing out and get it.
True. That's a good. I would try that too. Those are two great
Through the day.
examples. Two great things that if, and again, there's no guarantee. It's called fishing, not catching, right?
Yep.
And I think we all
Oh,
learned
shit.
that the hard way. Fuck you. But it really is. It's
Oh, I'm catching the day.
there's times where it's the luck of the draw, and
Oh, there it is.
and you're gonna end up catching a decent sized
That was
fish,
loud.
or you could catch a runt that's just chasing after it. But it really is just putting in that extra time.
You're good at that.
Now I know why I put that up there and I wasn't playing with it, because I was doing that all before the.
That's fun. All right. Sorry. Miles, I'm not heading out until the sun is behind the trees and the moon's out. So, all right, final point. Make this really, really easy for everybody that made it to the end of the stream. Congratulations. Let's make dead of summer fishing really easy for you. Go at night.
Go out at night. Throw
Wow.
a wake bait. You're gonna catch a fucking giant.
I'm not saying
Pardon
that.
my French, but go fucking do it.
Or listen, they what is the night spinnerbait that with the huge Colorado willow?
Oh, literally just any like
Just throw
half pound
any spinnerbait.
black spinnerbait with
Yeah.
a single giant Colorado blade on it.
Yeah, that's just absolutely
Wake
like
baits.
a helicopter going through the water.
Yep. Like any top water. Two of my favorites, if you've got really good clean open water, like sand hard pack bottom, no veggies, drag a giant jig. I promise you, especially if you can find like shell beds in the area.
Be smaller that way
My God.
at night.
Yep, rock piles, like anything like that, it's gonna work. And then crankbaits, square bills. I really like shallow divers, like Rapala DT4s. If you go back through and you look at like all these really old articles, literally for decades, this has been well known that in the middle of the summer, the biggest fish feed in the middle of the night. So it's not just like a go out and have better luck. It's also your best chance of catching your biggest fish.
We're not saying they're biting at midnight either.
No, like 2 or 3 in the morning.
2 in the morning, yes.
If you want to go out and you want to catch big fish, middle of summer is your best bet because it's technically, I don't want to say the easiest because that is totally misleading. It's not easy. You're still going to grind for that 1 or 2 big bites, and that's all you're going to get. And honestly, it's not even that guaranteed. You might only get 1 good bite out of like 5 or 6 trips. You know, if you're like, I know a few guys that are fortunate enough that, well, they don't have kids, they're just younger in general, whatever, and they're going out and they're grinding out that big bait big bait bite at night. They might go out 3, 4, 5 times before they get 1 bite, but that 1 bite's a 6-pounder.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, which is freaking phenomenal for New Hampshire.
I'm all set with that. I'll go out and catch 2-pounders all day and be happy.
Right, yeah. I can't grind like that. But, you know, no joke, like decades, literally decades of research or experience, we'll call it, not necessarily research, from I don't even know how many publications. If you want your best chance at catching your biggest fish, your quality fish, go out in the middle of the night. There is a weird lull that happens right about like at sunset, like full dark, until about 11. For some reason, for us, it's pretty damn consistent. You'll have like an hour and a half to 2 hour window this time of the year where it just sucks. But man, that last hour leading up to full dark is money. And then somewhere around 11 or 12 o'clock at night, it starts to kind of pick back up again. Personal experience. I don't talk to enough night guys lately the last few years to know if it's the same for them or not. So take it with a grain of salt.
10:30, 11 o'clock. Right there. That's when it turns on.
Yep. Thermacell makes a great little like mini propane. It's not propane. Bug repellent. It's this little plastic thing, right? And it's got a little butane thing in it, a little pad that's got like insect repellent. You turn the thing on, it's got a little kind of an open flame, and it creates like a 15-foot bubble around you that keeps the bugs off. We've already tried it a couple times, as long as it's not windy. Dude, that thing is legit. So if you don't want to swim in bugs right for the night, get one of those things. That's something that we didn't really cover at all, because most people don't do a lot of night fishing like that, because it requires dedication, especially for someone like me who's got young kids. It's kind of hard to sneak out and stay out till like 4 in the morning and come back, because my kids don't give a shit. All I know is out. They're inside my bedroom by 7:30, 8 o'clock, making sure that my ass is up. So that's why we didn't really cover it earlier. Plus, we already did a live stream on night fishing. Twice, actually, I think.
Did we?
I think we did. Well, we covered big baits versus traditional baits. I think inside of that was one we really covered a lot of night fishing aspects.
What's the best fishing?
You had night vision. Mike just jumped on and talked about his night vision.
Oh, I guess it. So, Captain Whackpacker again. Dude, I check it all the time. I have a bass boat and change my line constantly. Before every tournament, I re-explore, put all new leaders. I'm just a braid mono guy.
That's
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I was curious, so that's why we were asking the question.
I'm trying to figure out why your floral keeps breaking on you.
Yeah, that's
It is interesting. You check your guides, right? On your rods.
Oh,
Take a Q-tip and just quick little, like, put it into the guide from both sides. Like, start on one side and just give it a little twist. Pull it straight out. If there's anywhere it kind of caught, you've got something wrong with your guide. Do both sides.
Yeah, but if
Top
it's
and
not
bottom.
breaking off his mono.
That's true. It's still worth a shot. So
No,
I'm
it
thinking out
is.
loud.
It is.
I'm just
Maybe
trying
he
to.
doesn't like floral.
Yeah. It's odd because I'm not saying you're wrong. Please don't misinterpret that. I don't know anybody that's had that level of an issue with floral. So that's why I'm thinking out loud here. Doug said, kid just went to SoCal and pulled in 3 bluefin this week. It changed from bass, but the heat in New Hampshire this week makes me wish to be there. Hope you have AC where you are. I wish I had AC in the basement right now. I could promise you that, dude. Even for a basement, it's toasty here. Let's crack that door open again. Sorry, it's loud with that fan. Who's the best fisherman in New Hampshire after Alan Denise? Pete Weeks. Pete's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I know you're joking, but I kind of want to answer this seriously, just from people I know. Alan Denise, that dude's a hammer. He's been a hammer for a long time. Dave Sow, and I
Wait,
may have said
25-pound 4 fish out of Sunapee.
correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it? No, you're right. I'll beat that. I know 2 guys that caught 4 fish for 27 pounds on Swamp about 10 years ago.
That's ridiculous.
They had 2 7s and 2 6s.
Damn.
27 pounds on 4 fish. And I talked to the guy that did it because I bought a trolling motor off of him.
Sunapee,
Which
when
for
was
the
that?
life of me,
Like
I
the
can't
70s?
No, that was
Damn.
Dude, Doug,
about 8 or 10 years ago, I think.
Doug coming in again.
Doug, you are the man. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate the support.
Doug. Christ, Doug.
I can't fish. Yeah, dude, we'll have to hook up. Ton of night fishing the yak, and man, do the big girls like to come out and play in the dark. Yes, they do.
Uh-huh.
Mark, night fishing is the way to go. Damn right.
Night, I'll get a pizza with the super chats.
Speaking of
Yeah.
pizza,
John!
I am freaking starving.
John Mango. Some knots break easier on fluoro as well, especially braid. Fluoro, I really haven't heard of that being an issue, but braid, absolutely yes. Not all knots play great with braid. I learned that the hard way. All right, Doug, have a great night, man. Really appreciate the support.
Thanks,
Glad
guys.
you tuned in. Hopefully we see you next week. Steve, 8 fish for 24 and a half in a high school tournament. That was a state record for high school. That's pretty impressive still, too.
Yeah.
A little over 3 pound average. That's pretty good.
Right.
Especially because the high school tournament, that was probably on Winnie, or was that Wentworth? They're pretty much the only 2 ponds that are on. But my guess is that's Winnie. Oh. People are dropping out like crazy. It's 11
I'm about
o'clock.
to drop
Holy
Yeah,
crap.
it's 11 o'clock.
I'm about to drop.
All right. All right.
Speaking of high school,
I got an hour ride home.
it's too
Yeah,
bad.
you
I
got
got
a
an
long night.
hour wait in McDonald's drive-thru.
You know what I did before the stream?
I want to fucking
Pete?
hear it.
I went to Wendy's. And I did that. Time 4 fish. Yeah. Cap, no, that's what I'm saying.
That's insane.
God, I'll have to go back and look it up. But I know it was 4 fish on Squam for 27 pounds and change. Which is insanity. It was in April or May. I think it was early May, and I want to say it was about 10 years ago now, 10 or 11 years ago. I remember hearing about it, and then I happened to buy a trolling motor off the guy that did that. It's absolute insanity. Yeah, Sunappee's been kicking out some tanks. It's pretty good. Yes, you can burn floor with a Palomar knot. That's why I always spin on it first. And you're good.
And good. Have to spit on it. Oh. Going for something else.
Yeah, the hair sticking out.
Alright. It's been good. A lot of people have dropped off, so I think this is a pretty good time to call it quits. So, first and foremost, John, thank you very much for joining us again, buddy. Really appreciate it. For those that are still here, definitely check out his website. It's down, not in the video description below yet, but it's right there, right above his, well, it's above Andrew's head right now. WickedCustomRodsLLC.com. If you're interested in getting a custom built rod, he's the man to get it done through. Aside from that, for those that, if you're still here and you haven't liked the stream yet, please do so. It literally takes just 1 second's effort, and it helps us immensely. Big ups again to Doug for the donations tonight. Greatly appreciate it, guys. The donations, 100% of all donations have gone back into the channel. So, it's been good. Aside from that, we're out. Thank you all greatly. It's been a great night. We didn't stay on topic as much as I would have liked to, but it was still pretty damn good. We got to cover a lot of questions, which makes me happier in the end.
Great chat.
I'm going to let you close it out, but I want to say something first.
Go ahead.
I want to thank everybody who reached out for me last week. I had a very, very tough, well, it was last week. Had a very tough week last week, and for everybody who reached out, I appreciate it very much more than you think.
That was good.
I won't be able to talk back to that.
All right. That's about it.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Signing out. I'm going to
I'm
shut it
sure
down.
we'll talk to you all soon.